Hello? Anybody home?
Today, I want you to open your mind.
I've almost come to the conclusion that the story is so damning that the mass of people can't deal with it.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques to get people actually to love their servitude.
We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
To change the minds and the attitudes and the beliefs of the people to bring about one world socialist totalitarian government.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
It has patterned itself after every dictator who has ever planted the ripping imprint of a boot on the pages of history since the beginning of time.
If you can get people to consent to the state of affairs in which they are living, then you have a much more easily controllable society than you would if you were relying wholly on clubs and firing squads and concentration camps.
Tools of conquest do not necessarily come with bombs and explosions and fallout. There are weapons that are simply thoughts, attitudes, prejudices.
As you connect the dots between different people, organizations, religions, history, suddenly the picture starts to form.
The kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men.
Someone born in the United States is not more special than someone born in Mexico. They're just vehicles for the consciousness to experience.
They do not want your children to be educated. They do not want you to think too much.
It was learned that the aliens had been and were then manipulating masses of people through secret societies, witchcraft, magic, the occult, and religion.
They reach into our children. Music, television, books.
Prey on children's innocence.
How can I disprove lies that are stamped with an official seal?
So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it feels like an altar to an alien god.
Genetic power is the most awesome force the planet's ever seen, but you wield it like a kid that's found his dad's gun.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc is now in the possession of the Army.
Too many others know what's happening out there, and no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
Any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. A case to be filed under M for Mankind in the Twilight Zone.
It's about time some of you got acquainted with the real hard truth.
If you don't connect the dots, it's just a mass of what's all this about.
I'm your host, Ryan Gable. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Friday, May 22nd, 2026. Some of you are watching this on YouTube, X, or Facebook live, and since you're watching it, there is a video stream for those of you in the audio-only archive. However you're tuned in tonight, thank you for joining the Secret Teachings. I appreciate it. I really am humbled by how many people tune into this show every single week from around the world, despite the fact that it is often very difficult to find the show, as I've pointed out in the past, and as some listeners have recently pointed out. But however you got here, you are here. I appreciate it, and I know that the majority of you appreciate what we do Monday through Friday. For new listeners, I want to point out that this show is a different kind of show. You might hear me say things that are different than you've heard any place else. You might assume certain things I say I firmly believe, or they're based on some like internal strong belief system, and you might align with them, and then you find out later that I don't actually have that belief system. I guess the point is, this is not an echo chamber. This is a show where I like to explore different ideas, and we've done that for 16 years. One of those things that we explore is we talk to other people. And sometimes we talk to, in the past, doctors, scientists, geologists, researchers, journalists. I've actually done so many interviews over the years, I've lost track a long time ago. I have no idea how many people I've interviewed or all the things we've talked about, but sometimes we like to have a laugh here on the Secret Teachings, and we like to blend that together with some seriousness. Sometimes I see comedy on the show, and I just don't know how to really put my finger on the pulse. You probably hear me point that out a lot on the show. I'll say, there's a joke here. I just really don't know how to deliver it. or there's definitely a bit here. Like I know it's there, but I can't put my finger on it. So I've always had a lot of respect for comedians because you have to get the timing right, and I can't speak much on the subject because I'm not an expert on it, but sometimes we do things here on the show that are humorous and funny. Either way, without further ado, we have as you can see by the picture tonight, we have a gentleman joining us on the show who's been on the show before. He's also a listener of the show, a friend of mine named John Pizzi. You can find his website by going to the internet and typing in John, John, Pizzi, Pizzi.com. That's johnpizzi.com. I will show it to you also on the screen here so that you can make sure you're on the right website, johnpizzi.com. You can scroll through his website, learn more about John, but it'd be better just to bring the man on the show and let him tell you about himself. So we've got John Pizzi with us tonight, a guy in an orange shirt. And John, other than that, what can you tell us about yourself?
I'm a human creamsicle. Looking forward to speak to you tonight.
Yeah, I dressed up a little bit. I thought you'd dress up in
I know, black on black. I know, a blind man dressed you tonight. He can't see you. You just have the white hat. You're like a Q-tip coming out, like a darkened Q-tip coming out.
Yeah, it's not a good idea with the microphone. The mic's black too, so it all blends together.
You actually look good. We haven't spoken in quite a while, and you look fine. You look great. I haven't seen you in a long time. I look a little different in that picture. That looks like a 1980 or 1990 shot from the sleeves rolled up, working on stage with a cigarette kind of guy.
You know, it's funny you say that because most of the time I'm on another show as a guest. People go back and pull the college radio photo of me. So that's about 16 years old. Looks nothing like,
I know the feeling. I really do know the feeling. I get advertisements all the time where people pull stuff, and then I look at it and I go, and then people come in and say, "You don't look like that guy at all." I'm like, "Listen, I didn't make up the picture. You know how it goes. It just is what it is." But it's really, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm really grateful that you asked me to come on. I've always been really fond of your podcasts and deep diving of esoteric and symbolism and all that kind of stuff, because I really try to understand that in my off time as much as possible. And you're one of those guys that's deep in the weeds, as they say. Yeah, absolutely.
Not into the weed, but definitely in the weeds.
Well, I actually, for the first time, had a marijuana brownie yesterday. First time. And first time ever, but I couldn't keep it lit. I'm not sure how that works. It's a great joke. Hey, you know what you do when you do a joke like that? You do this.
Yeah, and when I have that same sound bit on my board, I used to use that all the time on the college radio. Yeah,
I like that cheesy. People think it's really cheesy, and I just love cheesiness. I mean, there's something about humor that, like, I don't know where you're younger than I am. I mean, I'm aging. My testicles are down to my ankles already, but you're a younger guy. But I watched humor as a kid. It was 1-2 punch humor, and I just kind of didn't realize that's something I would be doing later in my life. It's hilarious to think, that happens. And I see you got a great chat going on here. Deborah Parsons.
Yeah,
and
we got the chat.
Well.
We got the chat going tonight. Tim Curley, Amber Geddon, Kale. I don't know who. I think Kale's in.
Love it.
Yeah, we got a big lively chat tonight.
Hermit Ventures. What the hell is Hermit Ventures? What is that about? Very cool.
He's a hermit on an adventure, I suppose. Malorcas is here. We have a bunch of listeners in the chat tonight. Thank you all for joining us. John Pizzi is with us. It ain't easy being Pizzi or cheesy.
It's cheesy peasy. Yeah, it's actually fun being cheesy. And I got to tell you, also, I was listening to a couple of your things. I told you I was just before we went on the air, I was telling you how much I enjoyed listening to you with Clyde Lewis, that interview the other night. I was flying to San Francisco to do a corporate gig for Toyota, and it was actually up in Napa Valley, which, by the way,
our company, Toyota.
Yeah, do you have Toyota?
No, you pronounced it, I think, correctly. Toyota.
I'm not sure. Speaking of which, I hate to say this to you, especially on the air. This sounds probably improper, but I was listening to your show about the Jewish thing, and I do a lot of Orthodox events, Jewish weddings. Don't ask me how. I'm like, a guy from Brooklyn, a kid I grew up.
You'll be out of work after this show.
I know. And I've been listening to some of your stuff, and I want to deep dive, but I'm not really a political person anymore. I used to be. And you kept saying you kept saying this word, and I kept saying in my mind, should I text you this? It's moil.
Moil. What did I say? Mole?
You kept saying mole, and I kept saying, and I was laughing because I know as a comedian we do jokes about moils. Moils are the guys that cut the skin on a penis of a baby or whatever. And matter of fact, I could tell you a couple of jokes about that. But it's just funny. You kept saying mole, 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 and I was like, I got to tell him moil, but I shouldn't. But I've been meaning to text you, and I've been busy. I wanted to let you know. I hate correcting you because I'm the worst person when it comes to English. I just know dick jokes, and I don't know how to speak very well.
I think I remember that from Seinfeld. That's one of my favorite Seinfeld bits. Was the mole. He tells Elaine not to the mole. The mole. He tells Elaine not to put the glass on the edge of the table. And he says,
I don't remember that episode, but did they say mole or moil?
It's. I think it's moil because I learned it in that episode. It's just one of my favorite episodes. I think so. I learned it in that episode.
There's a great joke about this in that community that it used to be done in the Borscht Belt. It was a guy is in a Jewish neighborhood and he's walking. I know I just saw something fall down behind you, and it was something black, so it may have been the hood that you wear with this outfit.
Yeah, it's one of my. I finally got these foam pieces, and it's not sticking to the wall very well.
They actually work well, those foam pieces.
When they stick to the wall, yes, they do. But
I thought you put them in your pants. Oh, I'm sorry. So what happens is this there's a guy walking down the street in a Jewish neighborhood, and he sees a big new glass window with nothing in it but a 14-karat gold watch. And he's got a briefcase, and he's going to work, and he looks in it, and there's nothing in the store but a gold watch and a Jewish guy with the payas and the curls of black and white. And he walks in, and he says, he's looking at that watch in the window, and he says, boy, I'd like to buy that watch. I really can't afford it. And then he goes, wait a minute, I have a broken watch. Maybe that guy in there can fix it. So he walks in, he opens up his briefcase. He says to the Jewish guy, hey, can you fix my watch? And the guy looks at him and goes, what? He goes, my watch, it's broken. Can you fix it? He goes, what do you mean, fix your watch? I can't fix a watch. And he says, it's broken. Can't you fix it? And he goes, no. He goes, I'm a moil. He goes, what? He goes, I'm a moil. He goes, really? He's yes. He goes, then why do you got a watch in your window? He goes, I'm a moil. What do you want me to put in my window? That's the joke. What would you do? Put a circumcised penis in the window? It's silly, but funny. Anyway.
Well, there's a lot of words that, now that I'm learning Japanese, there's a lot of words now that even in English, I feel like as the more Japanese I put in, the more English kind of goes out the other side and words get blended together because they like to add to to the end of things like biscuit to, things like that. So I'm starting to like blend the languages together. And even if I know a word is pronounced a certain way, I can't say it for some reason.
So if it's a prostitute in the street, she's a ho-ho.
A ho-ho, yeah.
Yeah, right. I got to go get some ho-hos. Hey, I wanted to ask you about that also. I know.
About the hose?
Yeah, that too. That's the second thing, Japanese hose. I want to ask you, like, I know you did this move out there, and I always found it amazing when you get somebody in the U.S. that moves to another country and is happily in another place. And I know that Japan is beautiful, and I know it has great technology. As a matter of fact, I watched a video on YouTube last night about the way Japanese people do things that Americans hadn't thought about. And one of the things was they had a square little, I guess, frying pan that they put eggs into, and then they roll it over and make it into like a piece of sushi on a dish. And he said, this is something very common in Japanese. And I was thinking, does Ryan have that in his house? And they showed other things like good toilets that come out and spray and clean and all these like very efficient products, if you will.
Yeah, that's a big thing over here. In fact, my wife uses that little tiny skillet herself. She rolls with a pair of chopsticks, the little egg, and rolls it into a sushi-looking maki roll omelet. Yes.
Okay, all right. So it is
very popular thing, and my toilet's pretty simple, but I could show it to you, and it looks like a Starship Enterprise. It has the panel on the wall with all the buttons, and
really,
sometimes you go to a train station sometimes, and literally like the entire toilet is surrounded by buttons, and it's even if you translate them and like I can read them, I still don't know what to push.
So much different than Rufus in Newark, New Jersey's toilet, where there's more brown. There's probably more brown in it than in old Japan.
yeah, I think so. They do like the cleanliness here.
I love it. I've been wanting to take a ride out there myself. I haven't been to Japan ever, and it's someplace I really like to explore. My aunt also lives in Holland, in a little town. I'm thinking of going there in September. She lives in this beautiful little town in Amsterdam, Holland, and I looked it up on YouTube and was like, wow, I really should check this place out. I mean, as I'm getting older, but more importantly, I was wondering, like, how, you made this transition to go there. Obviously, you're marrying a beautiful Japanese woman. Okay, granted, but that's a big move. I think you were upstate New York in Albany, you were in Florida or something, and then you're in Japan. I mean, it's kind of like pretty transitional.
I'm a travelocity gnome. I'm all over the place. I've been everywhere, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, New York, Arizona, Idaho, Florida, a little bit in Texas. But yeah, to me, it's not much of a transition, though, because I've always been part of this culture since I was a kid.
Okay.
And I never understood what it was, never understood why I did weird things. And people eventually told me, like, that's a Japanese thing. And then I came over here, and it was. And I fit in better here than I do in the US for those reasons, anyway.
So yeah, Japanese in your blood.
It's in the blood. It's in the soul. Mm-hmm. It's in there. There's a dick joke.
I'd love to see it one of these days. So you transition effectively. You transition effectively well, is what you're saying overall.
Yeah, I've transitioned very, very well.
I'm trying to say the transition word lightly. That's another thing I wanted to talk to you about too, is the transitioning stuff. Speaking of transitioning, I performed 2 days ago at a gender reveal party. Have you ever heard that before?
Oh, I've heard about them. Yes.
It was horrible.
I walked in performances.
It's so embarrassing. It's like I'm the entertainer for the gender reveal, and I walk in. I'm the only guy naked, and nobody knew what gender it was. It was like so disturbing, and and people were pointing at me.
Creamsicle.
Yeah,
it's a creamsicle.
That's a terrible joke.
So did you really perform at a gender reveal party, though?
I've done them. Yeah, I've done them. Actually, I have a woman that just hired me again this year. I've done this group of lesbian women. Like, I think they're like golfers or basketball players or something like that. And I was really concerned about doing put down humor in this group because I know where my mind's going to go, and I'm afraid that I'm going to be painful rather than funny. And yet I find that the people that are like, the lesbian and the gay communities and stuff are really fun and are not as hung up as the people that are looking at them and judging. Like, if somebody's the regular straight people are in that community, they're offended for them. Same thing with black and white and all that. Sure. There's other people being offended for them as opposed to them, except when it comes to LGBT and all that, then it starts to take a turn because it's more sensitive.
With comedy, I've always been curious about this. There's certain things I've said on the Secret Teachings, which if it doesn't have context or if it doesn't have the right timing, it just sounds like a really angry guy. But if I was hired to be a comedian and said the same things, then the context is that this is supposed to be funny and maybe people would laugh. Is that how it works?
Yes and no. I mean, again, you have to dial it to depends on where, what, and when. There's an old saying that we can make fun of anything, but not with everyone. And that's a very imperative kind of thinking, because I have people comics and friends that are comedians that I can make fun of their wives and their kids and illness and we all sit there and laugh and know it's just comedy. And then there's other people that'll be sensitive to it because they've had a problem in their life with it, and then they want to blame you for it. That's the unique thing. Look at that. You're the coolest dude on the entire internet. Look at that. Boy, send that about you. Not me. Not me. I'm old guy. I'm the old guy over here. I'm like wood stain number 53 going down the tubes, changing.
Here's something that's really fascinated me is that it's like maybe not a grass is greener situation, but it's maybe something like that. Someone who does comedy professionally, but you're into the esoteric, you want to learn about the occult stuff. I do that professionally, but I've always wanted to do comedy. I don't know if I've told the listeners that before, but I've always kind of wanted to do comedy. I find that a lot in professionalism, people that are really good at something, but they're like, I don't know if I really wanted to do this. I've always kind of wanted to do what you do. Like, I kind of wanted to do the dick jokes, and you kind of wanted to do the occult stuff.
Well, I've gotten my fingers into your business for a little bit, especially during the pandemic. I did Cool Crap We Love. I did 50 shows about growing up in the 60s and 70s, which we just did one recently again. And I also did interviews with a lot of great interviews of really, and I took in a lot of the esoteric, UFO, werewolves, ghosts. Those are the ones I really enjoyed. I would research them and bring people on. I did a show called Pizzi +1 on YouTube. And I also did another one called, matter of fact, there it is, License to Rant, which we did at 75, 100 shows of that. And I did this over a couple of years. I really kind of love what you do as well. And, what's funny is that round circle behind you almost looks like you have horns.
Yeah.
And, it's like, you just want to get the 666 in there.
A lot of paranoid people have pointed it out on the internet. So,
okay. I'm not the only person with this vision. I wasn't. Yeah, there you. Oh, there you go. Okay, and now your teeth are starting to grow too. You're getting fangs. So I kind of dived into your world, and I really, really liked it. But I have huge empathy for you now, because I do remember how much work it was to like get somebody's books and read them as much as you can and understand them and try to get all it prepped. So when they come in for that hour, you really have important questions that are relative and consistent, and let them know that you really read their book and all those. And it became like a headache. Like it was a lot of work. And I don't think people realize how much research goes into it. So in answer to your question about the esoteric and all that kind of stuff, I really do love it, but I can't live it all day long. It becomes too much. And it's the same thing with comedy. It's anything that you do 100% too much of kind of eats your brain up a little bit. It takes you out of life. It makes you out of the 3D. So I try to, and that's why politics was another one of those things where you want to, it kind of pulls you into these corners of right and lefts and rights and wrongs and who's this and who's that. It's a game, and I just don't want to be involved in a game where I'm choosing sides and pointing fingers and judging. I want to be in the moment, free to choose what I see naturally, organically, if you will.
I know you way, but I attempt to do those types of shows with the intent to, not an intent to offend everybody, but an attempt to point out the inconsistencies and hypocrisies of every side.
Right.
And that's my intention. I don't know if it comes off that way.
I think you could do comedy too. I really do. Because you have a dry, you'd be like one of those comics that just comes up and does just straight lines without laughing yourself, and then this nasty punch, almost like I don't know, like I could see you doing punch in the face humor, kind of, but dry. You're not a clown. You're not a clown. No. You're not silly. Like you could do a line like, so my wife said to me she has diarrhea. Could I take a bath? She asked, and I said, sure, if you have enough. That's your kind of.
I can see that. I think sometimes
should I say diarrhea? Diarrhea.
Diarrhea, though.
Oh. What a way to make a living. And I'm not a comedian. I'm an entertainer. And that's another weird thing. I hate to be narcissistic. I'm sitting here. I don't want to talk about myself, really. I'd rather ask you a million questions.
Well, you're on the show, so we can ask me questions. I can ask you questions. We can just talk.
Well,
where it goes.
I will say something that was really relative. That so I first heard your show many, many years ago, and I loved it. I went right into it. Really loved it. And I sent you an email, and I asked you about why. I asked you about sigils.
I recall that, yes.
And I was looking into it. I couldn't grasp the whole sigil thing. I really couldn't grasp it. And you sent me back a 1-paragraph email that explained everything so clearly and so well. And I was so happy that you responded with the information. But the information was written so well that I remember thinking, this guy's brilliant. It was on point, like right on the point. And I remember thinking, it just, the way you wrote it, it just made me understand clearly how it all worked. And then you gave me other examples of parasites and Stranger Things and how they give power to evil people or evil powers. And it was just brilliantly. I have it still on my phone. I actually copied and saved it and I've said it to many people before when we speak about these things. So you have a very good way of describing and unmuddling the muddy.
I appreciate that. I wonder if I've ever sent you, forgive me if I have and I don't recall, but if I've ever sent you the Occult Arcana book that I wrote.
I haven't.
You have it, okay.
I bought it. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a gentleman on eBay who said to me, and I mentioned I knew you, and he was like, "Oh my God, can you ask me a favor?" I'm like, "What?" He wants to get this book that he can't get. He showed it to me on Amazon, and he says he's looking to get it, but you can't get it. It's a lot of money. It's a book that you written many years ago. I got to look it up, and I'll send you a text about it. He's dying to get this book.
I've had a couple of people email me. I don't know, because I had a bunch of older books that I had written. They weren't really books per se. They were more like files that I put together as reference points for the show. So they're not really professionally published. So I pulled a lot of that stuff where it was available off the internet.
I'm going to send you a private message about it, because this guy asked me to ask you, and I promised that I would. And he was really excited about this book, The Self-Induced Banter. Okay. Ryan does voice changes that make me laugh loud. Yeah, you do have a good voice.
Sometimes I do voice changes. I just did a Jewish voice on Sam Tripoli's show. He said it was pretty spot on. So
let me hear it. Let me hear the Jewish voice.
You put me on the spot. I can't do it on the spot.
What do you mean? That's the way jokes are done. The jokes are done with the Jewish thing. You know what the greatest Jewish joke is? I've done it a million times for Jewish audiences. I say a waiter goes over to a table of Jewish ladies eating lunch, and he says, "Excuse me, is there anything okay?" Get it?
Sometimes it's funny with jokes. Sometimes jokes, like you're depends on the type of comedy, but sometimes you're waiting for a punchline, or sometimes it's delivered and you just kind of miss it for a second, and you have to
let it sit.
Yeah.
I tell you the truth, I studied humor, and I thought I knew everything at one point, and then I realized how much I did not know, especially when I started looking into the Jewish humor, because a lot of it's based on this Yiddish shtick stuff, and I didn't understand it at the time. You want to something interesting? When I was a kid, I remember like bald fat old guys in New York coming over to me and telling me a joke, and I used to think, these guys are assholes. Like, these guys, old fat old guys telling you jokes, are like idiots. Like, I was too analytical. I didn't understand comedy. I just liked Abbott and Costello as a kid, and the Three Stooges and a slapstick and stuff. I didn't understand humor. So when people would tell jokes, I used to think, like, this guy's an idiot. Like, what's he telling me that for? And then later on in life, I become the fat old guy telling the jokes. It's such a circle of life. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm curious about the Jewish jokes. I'm curious about the Jewish jokes. So you Jewish people, when you have these events, they like the jokes. I mean, they hire comedians. I'm assuming they like the jokes. They're not offended by the jokes.
They are very difficult crowds, extremely. They're the toughest crowds I've ever had.
Because of the expectation for the comedy, it's up at the top. No,
because of the world that they live in, that is independent of the rest of the world. They have their own club and their own thinking, and they are very analytical. And I hate that, it's hard to judge this, but they're humor is not their thing. It's business, work, school, art. It has nothing to do. Humor is, and yet they're, you know what it is? And just like people, if I asked you about Japanese women or men, there's a big brush of everything, and it's hard to really categorize somebody and compartmentalize a race of people into this square. But if I had to, because it's such a diverse group, you go from orthodox, extreme orthodox, to the Japs, to the people that may be of this culture, heritage, and you wouldn't know it. So, which one are we talking about when you're saying that? Where does that question lie?
That's the hard thing about doing what I do, because when you talk about certain issues, some people interpret them as political or social. I don't necessarily interpret everything like that, but you talk about issues with dark skin, light skin people that are from the Orient, et cetera, whatever the case might be. racial issues, let's say. And it's obviously very difficult to bring up any subject like that because, yeah, I understand that you can't put everybody into a certain group like that and paint everybody with a broad brush. But there are generalities, like generally speaking, use Japan as an example. Generally speaking, most Japanese people like fish. My wife's dad apparently hates fish. That was surprising to me. That's a very simple example. It's not really that racial, but that's the thing about, that's the thing about, with any subject, you can say, well, Americans are X, Y, and Z. Americans tend to be fat. It's true. 60-something% of the country is extremely overweight, but there's obviously 30-something percent that's not. So, if you take the time to sit there and always make that caveat, that statement of like, but there's always, another way to look at it, then you just run out of time. You don't have enough time to do that. Sometimes
Absolutely.
You have to
and there's somebody just wrote in your comments that B13, Jack B13, he's absolutely right about the mentality of people that are offended. The mentally weak are offended. It's like rape, for example. Rape is not funny. And I did a joke once where I had a human dummy mask on. This is a mask where you put on people. Yeah, that's right. He's absolutely right. Jackie B13. He or she rather. Well, it's 20.
Well, you don't know. You don't know, John.
He could be whatever she wants.
You don't want to offend they.
They, yeah. That's another of those pronoun things. My pronouns are Michael Jackson. He. That's what I am. He.
I'm sorry I didn't ask you what your pronouns were when you first came on the show tonight.
Matter of fact, I got an email the other day from somebody asking me about a show or something and asking me about material, what I would do, and if it's offensive. And at the bottom, I had the pronouns. I just said, I'm not available. I was like, I'm not even going to go into it. I'm not going to put myself into it.
It's like Austin Powers when he had to write down, it said sex, and he wrote down, yes, please.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I just changed your header there. You can see your johnpizzi.com header.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'll take the first one.
She there, right?
That whole pronoun thing is another crazy thing. That's crazy, and that time I think is dissipating as well. But when it comes to this humor thing with groups, it's you have to. Well, first of all, with this kosher market, you have to be super clean. I mean, you can't do a joke about pee-pee or talking about it's so conservative. And by the way,
you can do circumcision. Can you do circumcision jokes about moles?
It's so funny you mentioned that. The first time I walked in to last couple of weeks ago, and a guy goes, you don't do any jokes that are not nice, right? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, about penises. And I said, well, I do a whole bit on circumcision. He goes, you can't do it. I said, I'll cut the penis out.
Cut it out. Yeah, cut it.
Yeah. But you have to be super, 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 super clean. And this is another thing that happens all the time. I'll go into one of these Orthodox events and I'm going to a show and the guy says, you got to be super clean. I'm like, okay. I'm setting up. I'm prepared for super clean. The right dummies, the right magic or whatever. And then he goes, oh, the rabbi left. You can do whatever you want. What's that all about?
Well, so the rabbi you had to do it clean for the rabbi.
Because these people laughing in front of him about material that's inappropriate would be wrong. But it just goes to show you, but this mentality is not just in Jewish Orthodox. This is in anything. It could be the priest. And same thing could happen with a group of people like, oh, the priest here. Oh, the priest is gone. Do whatever you want. The bottom line is people are playing a game where they have to not allow themselves to fully open up to something when other people are watching them. It's almost silly.
Yeah, well, it is silly, and that's in every group. I remember, I don't know if I told you this, but when I was in school, when I was a kid, I was in a Christian school, it was a Baptist school in Florida.
No, didn't tell me.
I remember we got this letter one time from the school that said, I must have been just an out-of-the-box thinking kid, but we got this letter from the school that said, if we catch you, like if we find out that you, your parents, etc., if you went to like an R-rated movie, you'll be in big trouble with the school. And I remember we read that at the table. I was really young, and I said, but how do they know we're at the movie unless they're also at the movie? So these Christian officials, that's like, well, if they saw us at the movie, then they were also at the movie. So it's okay. Like they're there too. So it should be okay.
That's so funny because as a kid, I remember saying the same thing. I went to a Catholic church and they had said, whatever you do, don't go watch Linda Blair and The Exorcist because it's inappropriate and it's not good for you to see. And then I was thinking, how do you know if you didn't watch it?
Yes,
it doesn't make any sense. Like, how could you make the judgment without? Now I want to go really see it to make my own judgment. And I mean, I remember being a kid, like, I don't know, 10 years old when that came out or something, whatever. I'm 105, so whatever that year was, whatever decade that was, 70s is what it was.
It was a century ago or something like that.
Yeah, this aging thing sucks. How old are you now, Ryan? You look good though.
You want to take a guess?
You want me to embarrass you?
I I don't care. Stuff
you
I
really
say,
don't. You're not easily offended.
No. I easily offend, but I'm not easily offended.
Since you started Fen, I would imagine you're probably about 40, even though you look literally maybe 35, 40, about 40.
Close. I'm 35.
Okay, I was going to say about 35 to 40. Okay, somewhere in there. So I gave you a little bit older, but you look very healthy as opposed to me. I gained so much weight last night. My wife came on my tits. It's pretty bad. Oh, can I say that here?
You look more like an orange balloon. So
I'm going to get banned from YouTube for the tit joke.
We love tips.
What do you call it? What do you call a Jewish girl's breasts? The nipples. The tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg. I don't know why I'm doing all Jewish stuff. I don't know why I'm even going this direction. I do jokes about everybody. I don't know why I'm going this way.
Maybe it's natural in this show. I do some tit jokes. I don't know if it's really a joke, but I feel like there's a joke in there. I've been seeing these advertisements, and you might have heard me mention this on the show. I've been seeing these ads or these pieces of propaganda where they're literally using, the Israeli government is literally using like half naked women, like women in bikinis, or there was one I just saw where they had a camera zoomed in on a woman's ass and then like tits.
Okay.
But it was a promo for the IDF. And I said, like, I'm supposed to sit here and look at the stuff that Israel's doing, and which I've been doing before this stuff became popular, and say, well, I don't like that they're killing kids, but look, there's tits. So it's okay.
Really? I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen. I've been watching politics. Like I did watch recently the stuff that went on about the Leering Center and how they were being ripped off for billions of dollars in the United States about all of that, and that they're prosecuting these people and all that. But I've known this stuff's been going on for a billion years. I mean, everyone's known it's going on. It's just no one's put attention on it till recently. It's taking advantage of the government, and the government not focusing on making it right has been a standard in our country. Well, not your country anymore, my country, for many years.
Still my country, for the record. But
is it really?
Yeah.
What are you considered? A Japanese American, American Japanese? What are you?
Offensive. Just offensive. I don't know if I have a classification otherwise. I'm still an American, because the way that the immigration system works here, I'm still far more American than anything else. It's in spirit. I'm like maybe 30% American, 70% Japanese.
Oh,
something
okay.
Like that. I think the reason I look 40 because of the suit.
What's the difference between a Japanese girl and a Jewish girl?
I don't know. You got me.
Actually, I could switch that joke around to different ethnicities. The more I think about it, too.
He's a pro. He's working in real time. Look at this.
I am. My head is like going. I could even do it to different ways and different. There's so many ways. See, that's what's funny about humor. Humor is it fits into different. It's like a puzzle that you could just change the pieces around and equal the same thing. It's math, kind of. It's kind of like math. It's kind of math. So you can say, what's the difference between Italian girls and Jewish girls? Let's say Italian girls have real orgasms and fake diamonds, which is a beautiful. And you could switch it to Japanese. You could switch it to Japanese. Another one that's great is why did Jewish women always wear two-piece bathing suits? Because you have to separate the fish from the dairy. That was brutally funny. You want to hear something else, Daniel? You didn't ask me this question. If I want to ask you a million questions, but I just want to bring this up. I'm a ventriloquist, as you know, as well. A magician, a mentalist, a ventriloquist, and a comedian. But I'm an entertainer. I don't think I'm a comedian. I love comedy. I don't feel like I'm a comedian.
I could spell ventriloquist. I'd put it under your name.
Go ahead.
Spell it.
Without moving your lips.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, a lot of people say ventriculist.
Ventriculist. Yeah.
Ventriculist. Yeah. Fish from dairy.
Ventriloquist. Is that a French word, or do you know?
I don't know the history. Yeah, I spend more time looking at ghosts and werewolves. What would I know about ventriloquism?
Yeah, I'm more of the etymology guy. So.
It's supposed to. I think it's Latin or something. Apparently, it comes from belly talker, is what I understand. It's apparently, if you look up ventriloquist, I think it's belly talker, and from Latin, I believe.
I'm looking it up right now because I'm curious.
I think I could be wrong. I should know that. I don't. I want some dairy. Very funny, Eric Scheck.
Yeah, people like that joke in the chat. Yeah, it does. It comes from Latin, venter for belly, and loqui or loquio for speak, belly speak.
Okay.
He's not just funny.
So when it comes to these comedy and humor and all this kind of stuff, I do comedy, magic, mentalism, ventriloquism, and stand-up, right? So a little bit of everything. And people know me more as a ventriloquist because they like that the most. It seems that's what I like magic more originally, but it became, I don't know, I'm not a comedian. It's kind of funny. I'm an entertainer that does all these different things, and humor is what I love. I love humor. As a matter of fact, the more I study it, the more I realize how dumb I am. There are much better comedians and much better writers than me everywhere. I'm not the best. I really am not. But I do love creating it and experimenting with it and fishing with it, and then seeing what works and coming back and trying it again. And it's a wonderful exercise of, and you get so deep in the weeds you don't even realize when you got something that's good or bad, because you just have to wait for an audience to tell you. You don't know.
I like to play around with labels and titles like that too. When people say you're a comedian, you're like, no, I'm an entertainer. You're not joking, but like for me, I like to joke around with people. They'll say like, you say horrible things, you're a Nazi. It's like, I'm not a Nazi, I'm a racist. You're really a racist? I'm not a racist either, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, I love it. I do actually do a joke with the dummy where at the end of the show, because he makes fun of all the ethnic groups, one dummy I have at the very end. He does Italian, everything. He's like the Don Rickles of 2026, right? And at the very end, he says, I said, what are you, racist? He goes, no, I hate everyone equally.
Yeah, I used to tell my friend that.
Best line. But what's funny is that I generally don't get people occasionally, but for the most part, 99% of people, I never get them angry, because I think people realize it's not coming from a place of hate, evil, or pain. It's coming from a place of just, and I really do believe, Ryan, I could be wrong, but I do believe, I hate even saying that word. I believe that when you do this kind of humor, especially ethnic humor, and things that people may find painful, that it kind of breaks it away and makes it melt away, as opposed to make it grow. Do you know what I'm saying? Like doing dick jokes in a bar with your friends, talking about blacks and Mexicans or whatever it is that you do, it's like you got this little group of people, you're laughing about somebody else because when you do ethnic humor, that means people feel superior to someone else. That's what it really means. Like, I'm superior. I can make fun of you for this, right? And if you're doing it, all of it, in a group, and you don't miss anyone, you're an equal opportunity abuser, if you will. That means that at that point, you've hit on everything. I think it doesn't make people sensitive to fight each other. I think it actually melts apart and they become more connected. I've done shows for thousands of people in Atlantic City at the Borgata at thousands of times, and everyone comes in, doesn't know each other. And at the end, they're in the hall laughing at each other, shaking each other, hugging each other, black people, white people, Spanish people. It kind of takes it down a few notches, then creates more tension. The only time there's tension is when you're so sensitive to something because you own it and you carry it with you and you're looking for somebody to make your wound worse. That's when it's a problem. And those are the people that own the problem, not the people that just laugh at each other and then accept it as a joke. And that's why I say you could joke with everybody, but not about anything, but not with everyone.
Sometimes there was there's one or two people, especially for some of the bigger comedians, you'll see these stories, one or two people that get upset in the audience. But most of the time, I think that you're right. For the majority of the audience, that's why you go to a comedy show anyway. You don't go to be offended per se. You go because you want to laugh. And you know that there's going to be probably offensive things said. Like I went to see Bill Burr when I was living in Boise.
Mm-hmm.
I love Bill Burr. And I sat in the front row. And I had these like khaki shorts on, and I was the first person he targeted when he came out. He said, "Jesus Christ, you can't even get dressed up to come to the fucking theater." And I just thought it was hilarious. Like I went to laugh and laugh at myself too. And it's the same thing with like my friend from high school actually used a very similar phrase to what you just said. My friend says that we're equal opportunity haters, but we hate ourselves the most. That's what
kind of true. Kind of true. Very true. And I've gone to part, and that's another thing. When people feel somebody just wrote to take themselves seriously. There are people that have big egos and are narcissistic, let's say. And by the way, to be a performer, you have to have narcissism in there weaved in. I try not to be. I really try not to be. And but it's always about you when you're talking about yourself. I hate talking about myself, honestly, but when you go do, I work for mafia guys that are going to jail, like they're going away party and they're coming home parties, and stuff. And I'll walk in the room and I have my dummy and I'm going to do dick jokes, and I come out and I'm about to do my act, and the guy will come over to me and like Tony Bennett, bag of donuts will come over and go, "Hey, you see that fucking table over there? Don't you talk? Don't even look at them. Don't say a word. Don't do nothing." I'm like, "Are you serious? Don't fuck her. I'm telling you, don't say nothing." I'm like, okay. And I'll sit there and abuse everybody, see them all laughing. And then I walk out, I get paid, I go home. And that means that person that they're worried about feels they're better than you and special. I've had people come over to me that were offended and say, "How dare you say that about me?" In other words, they believe themselves to be such great human beings that how dare you petty clown, make fun of me, which really tells you about the hierarchy of what they think and you are. I'm the guy in the kitchen cutting the vegetables, and you're the owner of the catering hall. Okay.
I would think a comedian's lifespan's a little shorter within those Italian gigs.
There's less of them today. I used to do a lot of them in the 90s. There's a lot less of them than today. And by the way, some of the big guys had great senses of humor. I mean, I could tell you a story. I could tell you a million stories. There's two comedians. They're comics. They're not around anymore. They're older now. One of them has died. The other one's still alive. They're in Chicago, and they go do an Italian wedding. And they go, and there's, Johnny Begadona's guy says to them, "Hey, you see that table? That's the father and of the groom, and whatever you do, don't make fun of them or the groom. Whatever you do." And they go, "Yeah." And they go out and they start to do their act. The first thing they do is they said, "Hey, they told me I can't talk to you guys. I can't do this. I can't do that. Blah, blah, blah. Come on, look at you. You look like you should be on top of the wedding cake." And they make the couple, and everyone's laughing. Everyone's having a good time. It's all good. And the show comes. The guy's getting paid $2,000, which is a lot of money in 1990s, And they go in the kitchen, and the Tony Begadona's guys goes in there and says, I told you not to talk to those fucking people." And he picks up a shark that was on the counter, frozen shark, and whacks the guy, boom, onto the floor, and throws the $2,000 cash on the floor and walks away. The guy was in the hospital for about a month or two.
The true story.
True story.
Like
and he's told me this story, and he suffered through it and never did a thing, never said a word about it. So when I first heard that in the 90s, I was like, I really kind of tried to walk the line. Yeah, walk the line. But there's less of that today. There's less.
Now they just hit you with the shark and they don't give you the money.
Well, I've had that happen too. I've had people, you would not believe the shit I've had. I've had people, I have a black dummy, right? It's a little guy named Smokey, and he's a pimp.
See, I could have made a joke there. I said, "What's the difference?"
Yeah, that's pretty funny. But you're too straight of a guy. It has to be more clever.
I know.
You got to say, was he guilty?
Was he? That's the thing. I know that there's comedy there. I just don't know how to deliver it.
I tell you what, I'll hook you up with the comedy. You hook me up how to be a better esoteric person.
Let's do it.
So let me ask you all. I'm going to tell you a million stories. I'd rather not. Let me ask you a lot of questions that I was thinking about, because I've been thinking, like, first of all, I love the fact that you're able to deep dive these things, and there's some things I thought about for a long time, and I always wonder about them, and I like to get your take on it too. I mean, maybe I should just open up a window and bring you in for a couple hours and talk about all these things, because I really always have.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Questions. I would do it. I would do it. I like. First of all, what is your take on track and control in America?
You mean censorship, spying, monitoring people, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think we're going to a track and control state. I mean, everything is being enclouded, and everything is hooked into a system of that you could track a person by their phone. You could really. It's getting so bad to the point where I watch these murderers and stuff on those YouTube channels where people do things, and then they track their cell phone data and their pinging and all the other stuff and what they said previously for 100 times. If you could build a case about anybody doing anything, if you just track a history of 20 years of their life, you could find anything. I mean, I probably said, I'm going to kill you to somebody at one point.
Even if it's just a joke, context matters.
Yes.
I think that most of my listeners are pretty aware of how I feel about this, but just in a nutshell, my perspective on, let's say, track and control has slightly changed, only in the sense that I've gained a new perspective on it living overseas. Because over here in Japan, a lot of things are, well, let's put it this way, if things were in the United States, how they are in Tokyo, right. I think conspiratorially minded Americans would be much more paranoid. The difference is that in Tokyo, and the Japanese know how to make that kind of thing more efficient and make it work and not make it so like publicly noticeable. In America, a lot of things like with cameras and quote spying, it's showing to us on the surface, like you better not step out of line. Like we're watching, we're tracking you. In Tokyo, they don't really do that. Most of the security and whatnot's all kind of done behind the scenes, and they actually go after people when they commit crimes and prosecute them and get them off the streets. So despite the fact that we have all this surveillance and whatnot in the US, it appears anyway on the news that crime rates continue to go up, even though crime in a lot of places continues to go down. So I guess what the point I'm getting at is, in America, I think that it's done improperly, and it's done in a very authoritarian way. And over here, where you do have that kind of surveillance and censorship, and I don't honestly don't even know to what extent, at least it's done in a way where there's like a respectful kind of, it's not shoved in your face way of doing it. And society, whether it's because of the surveillance or I don't think it's because of surveillance, but whether it's the surveillance or it's because of the general culture, there just isn't a lot of like crime. So whether you attribute it to that or cultural issues or whatever, or cultural things or whatever the case might be, it appears that maybe that has an effect and actually does make society safer. And like from an American point of view, it seems like the more of that surveillance and whatnot we get, it seems like the more dangerous things become. Like you can have 100 cameras on the subway in New York and people are still getting stabbed and lit on fire, right? You can have up until the 90s, they had no cameras in the subways in Tokyo. Right. And there was never any kind of crime until the famous terrorist attack. And even then,
they have a better upbringing of their kids. I mean, the kids brought up better there and where you are than in here. I mean, I think the moral morality of people have gone down the tubes. I keep wondering, did morality really change and got lower and lower and lower and lower, or did just the onslaught of being able to constantly see everything on YouTube and the news everywhere, all over, just enlighten us to really what was always there? I don't know.
That's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, I don't have an answer, but I think it's a mixture of both. I mean, I don't think the world has gotten worse. I think in a lot of ways the world has gotten better. I mean, we have, for the most part, we're cleaner, more hygienic. We have across the board, I mean, crime rates actually are down. They might be concentrated in certain areas up where they allow criminals to get away with crimes, but like crime, I think across the board is down. Society's getting, better in a lot of ways. But when you focus on all the bad things, like obviously nobody wants to report on the news because it's not an important thing anybody cares about. Nobody wants to report on the news good news. It's all bad news. And if you didn't have the news, you wouldn't know that there's any bad news going on anyway. So it's just, it's because that there's reporting on it. And then social media gives you 24 hours a day access to that. Mm-hmm. So to your second point, I think a lot of it's just our perception created by the content that we see. Although again, in some places things really, really do. Like if you go to Chicago, with carjackings in Chicago, they're through the roof. Or if you go to like Tucson, vandalism is through the roof compared to other parts of the country, but other crimes are down. So it's a mixed bag.
I told you this weekend I went to San Francisco to go to
gay pride parade.
Yeah, that's why I took the shirt back. And this is the I don't want to get laid by a woman shirt now. Do you know the
I've got a whole bunch of those, a whole closet full of those.
I'm sure you do. I'm underneath those black, under the bra and panties. What you're probably wearing right underneath there right now? What kind of bra you have underneath there? One of those lifting ones?
Brassiere. That's why I wear the jacket. It's covers it up on stream.
I'm wearing a Boinkle jock strap as we speak. I don't want to talk about it though. So
don't stand up.
I went to San Francisco, but I took a car and drove up to Napa Valley to do this gig. The last time a couple of years ago, I went to San Francisco, and I don't go there often, maybe once, very, very rarely. And actually, first of all, California is a beautiful state. It is one of the most beautiful states in our country. I was like, I did shows in Laguna and I did this Napa Valley. It is gorgeous. The weather, 78 degrees in the day and then 60 in the night wearing a jacket, and it's cool and it's dry, and it is a great place to live. It is the biggest, shittest place for politics in the world. It ripped off. I can't stand the politics of it. But independent of that, the first time a couple of years ago, I went to San Francisco, I rented this big car, and they told me, do me a favor. And there was a sticker on the windows. And I asked them, what's that? And they go, oh, no. When you pull in wherever you go, just take your stuff out of the car and leave the windows open. I was like, for what? She goes, so you don't get vandalized. I'm like, are you serious? She goes, yeah. You're telling everybody that rents a car to leave the windows open and nothing in it because fear of them cracking it and taking stuff out. That's insanity. That's insane. If that's how bad things really are, that will tell you that it's not the place you should be. And that means that people in charge are real dicks.
I've heard that story before. I didn't know how true it was, but you had that experience directly. Wow.
Yeah. That was last time. This time I didn't. This time it didn't have the stickers on the window. So I don't know if things have changed, but that was just a couple of years ago.
Might have been a car company or something that already had a problem with that. I know up in Canada there was a report. It was like a local news report where they were telling people to not. I think they said leave your car doors open. And if if you have a car, leave your keys, especially for older people, leave your keys at the front door. So if someone wants to steal your car, they can just grab the keys. And it's ridiculous. It sounds like a bit. It
does sound like a bit. It's like why don't you put a gun in front of the people in the trains too? This way it makes it easy to rob you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no common sense. And that's the point that I'm talking about between the past and the future. When I was a kid growing up, I thought there was common sense, and common sense seemed to be the most important thing anyone could have. And then suddenly the world changes to a position where common sense is not important. It becomes people's ideologies and their needs and their wants and their desires for some utopian insanity that doesn't exist anywhere but in their own smoke-brained mind. It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's why humor becomes so important, because it's the only savior that lets you show and shine light on insanity.
Throughout history, I mean, what was it? Lenny Bruce back in the 60s? He was arrested how many times for using profanity and things like that? And I mean, comedy's always been kind of a gauge of, I guess, where the morals of a society are, or where the level of authoritarianism is in a society, or whether it's governmental or it's societal. I mean, comedy really is it's necessary to gauge the health of a society in some ways, I think.
I love your chat. The people are really smart. They're not like the kind of chat that I get with people just hating dick jokes. This is pretty good, actually. You got good people.
You work with dummies all day, so.
Purposefully. You know, I have bought a couple of years ago. I have a Biden puppet. I
remember
Trump,
that.
I have a Trump dummy, and a Hillary puppet, and I have a Hillary's husband as well. Actually, I have those right over there in my little room of magic and puppets.
You should bring those out before the show.
I can bring it out and show it to you if you want to see it. I don't have any material for it anymore, and that was the whole point. Was that when I first started doing political humor, I found it so challenging because you have to write it every day, because every day it's changing constantly every day. So you got to be a really great writer and be able to listen to the news and create the material consistently. The only person who ever did that really well to me was that guy, Black, something Black. His last name is Black. He used to yell and scream in glasses, yell and scream. He's still around. Something Black. So I got these puppets. I started doing them at events, and people were hating me. I was getting, because if you want to divide an audience in half, talk politics. It's like religion and politics. We'll put you down the middle line and make people love and hate you very quickly. And I really had a challenge doing it. And I just said, you know, I'm not going to do it anymore. I just got rid of it. I just stopped doing political humor. Yet
people ever get mad at the puppet itself?
They were throwing stuff. I remember this one club, they were throwing lemon peels. This lady I had Hillary Clinton puppet come out and say she was coughing, and I was like, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "Oh, I just came back from the doctor. I had an infection, and I had to take these antibiotics." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Does it affect you anyway?" She goes, "Yeah, it's making my balls itchy." That was the line. And right away, people are like, "How dare you?" And they started throwing lemons at me and stuff on stage at a comedy club. I'm sitting at the puppet like this, and they're throwing shit at me. And the guys are throwing them out of the club, and the puppets yelling back. It's just like this insanity. I used to do a joke
in movies. I didn't know people threw stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they're drinking and they're angry about it. If you're on the right or the left, you're angry about the other side, especially when one's in power and the other one's not, you know? So when whoever's ever in power is the person that they're hating, they're going to turn around and blame you for it because they're drinking. They're this getting stupid. They got beer arms at that point. I had this joke I used to do, and I haven't done it in a long time, but I thought it was hilarious. I just love it. What's the difference between Joe Biden and Woody from Toy Story? Think about that for a second. Joe Biden and Woody from Toy Story.
I'm thinking about it. I got nothing.
When a kid comes in a room, Woody goes limp. How good is the joke is that? Come on, it doesn't get better. That's a beautiful joke. It's a beautiful joke. But it has nothing to do with it doesn't have it's just funny is funny. It's just funny. It doesn't really state anything. It's just a joke. It's there to make you you didn't see it come. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fun.
That's the comedy. That's the comedy rule, right? You know, you don't see it coming. That's why it's funny. It's not what you expect.
I don't know if it's it's not necessarily a rule, because it's different. There's several different ways to create humor. There's anti-humor, there's slapstick, there's exaggeration. There's many different ways, but the best writing in comedy is generally perspective is the key. Perspective, because the setup is a perspective leading you this way, and the punch is coming from a direction you never saw coming. The greatest, whenever I want to think about comedy, I always think about the Marx Brothers, who I wasn't a big fan of, but one of the greatest jokes they ever wrote was, I shot an elephant while I was in my pajamas. And the other guy says, how'd the elephant get in your pajamas? That's perspective. That joke explains comedy in a nutshell, don't you think?
Well, someone who's never really explored comedy, I guess I don't know if I could say I think it puts it in a nutshell, but I get it. I understand what you're saying. Yes.
You're very analytical. I love it. Well, a little, there's another joke like that. The guy says this way. She goes, the guy goes down to his wife, and he goes, "Oh, you're dry tonight." And she goes, "Honey, you're licking the rug." I can't help it. They're all in my head. They're like little children. I They're in my head, and I haven't told that joke in 10 years.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because there's a similarity there between what you do and what I do. There's a lot of things that I'll say on this show where you might notice I pause a lot, and it's because there's just all kinds of crazy shit that I want to say, and then usually I'll think to myself in a split moment, I don't need to say that, but fuck it, I'm going to say it anyway. So I pause a lot of my show because
you should, and you really should. You really should. I mean, you're not being paid by a client that night to do something. You know, see, this is another thing about comedians. Comedians are rebels. They really are. They're almost side chinks to the world. They're like in the corner. That you walk on an elevator, the person facing everybody, not looking at the door. They're just the opposite of the people. And a lot of them don't listen to the rules. And so a lot of times a club owner will hire a comic. I remember going to Atlantic City with a comic, and I was at the Tropicana, comedy stop at the Trop. And I forget the comic, but the owner came over, the guy who books the room, and said, listen, we're trying to keep the shows clean. Whatever you do, just don't say the F word. And, you know, that's really important. And they were like, yeah. And the guy goes up, hey, how the fuck are you? This fucking guy. And he just did it purposely. That night they threw him out. And he didn't care, because he wasn't going to have this guy tell him how to deliver his humor. And I kind of respect that on a great level. And on another level, it's bad business. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with cursing on this show too. I don't necessarily like cursing, but sometimes a curse word is the only way to truly express how you feel, or how, you know, to convey a certain emotion to your audience. So I do it very deliberately. And sometimes there's like a little bit of comedy in it too. It depends on the topic we're discussing. I do it a lot when we're doing like secret space program, you know, alien
right,
type of stuff. Like, I mean, like some of the stuff that we talked about with David Wilcock or Bashar, or, you know, some of those people. It's like you have to throw a couple of F's in there.
That's another person I wanted to talk about was Wilcock, because man, what's going on with there? You know, speaking of the jokes though, with comics, there's a great joke that describes a comedian, just apropos to what we're speaking about. I don't know, I probably never told you this. We don't talk. So this guy hires a clown for his kid's birthday party, the 4-year-olds, and he hires a clown to come in and entertain the kids. And he comes in, and the clown's and he goes, he's doing balloons and tricks, and all of a sudden the clown goes, all right, kids, guess what? I'm going to have a contest. He puts his hands in his pockets, and he goes, any one of you kids can tell me what's in my pocket right now, you're going to get a prize. And the first kid goes, is it a pony? He goes, no, it's not a pony. Next kid goes, is it candy? He goes, no, it's not candy. Third kid goes, what is it? He goes, it's my cock. And all of a sudden, the father walks in, grabs the clown by the head, pulls him in the kitchen. He goes, what the hell's the matter with you? These are 4-year-olds. What are you doing? He goes, oh man, I'm really sorry. I'm a comedian, and I've been off the wagon. I just got my life together, and I'm trying to make money doing these kid shows. And I'm thinking like what I used to do, and like a comic. And he goes, look, I understand life is tough. I understand. Just please, just don't do that again. Go out and entertain. They were loving you. Just please entertain the kids. He goes, I promise. All right. He goes back out. He goes, all right, kid, we're going to play the game again. What's in my pocket? And the kid goes, is it a toy? He goes, no, it's not a toy. He goes, is it candy? He goes, I told you it wasn't candy. The third kid goes, what is it? And the guy goes, it's still my cock. So that joke says, again, in a nutshell, that's what a lot of comics are like. That's the comic. That's the mentality of life. I'm not that comic, by the way. I'm not.
That's
I
why
do what I'm paid to do.
You're not that guy.
No, I'm not a rebel. I do a corporate gig this weekend, like I told you, super clean. I go do the kosher gig, super clean. I'll go to comedy club, dick jokes galore. I deliver what people like you deliver what they, when you go to a diner and the guy says, don't eat the fish. Don't eat the fish. You know what I mean? You listen to, you deliver what they want, but if it's bad, you let them know. That's what I do.
I know that's part of what this show is. I've learned that over the years, that is my attitude. That's why I've always thought I'd maybe be good at comedy, because I know that's my attitude. And I would have been the guy that probably went on stage knowing it's bad business, but went on stage and just been like, how the fuck are you? Knowing that I was just told not to do, because I've done that. over years of radio on different networks. I've done stuff like that.
I think it could be funny. I think you could really do it. There's got to be open mics in Japan, right?
I'm sure that there are. I don't
do an
know
open mic. I'll write you 3 minutes. Go out and do it. You got to come out and play that straight-laced guy. You got a deep voice. You got an easy thing. Don't smile and just do the hard punch. You know, the hard kind of punchy stuff.
The smiling thing, I'd have to learn how to control that.
The laughter.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Well, you're a very analytical person. I know that, and I know the feeling because I was so much that I was so analytical. I was like a young Mr. Spock as a kid, and I don't know why I didn't have the other side. I grew up in a home that was very they were musical people. They weren't jovial. They weren't humor oriented. So I didn't understand it, and I thought being analytical was the way I should grow. And then later on, you find out, wait a minute, there's a whole nother world here I didn't even know about.
Mm-hmm. There was a question I wanted to ask you about in the different styles of comedy. There's a comedian, I'm sure you know who he is, very famous. Pronounce his name correctly, John Panetti, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
Panett. Yeah, I knew John. Yeah, John.
Yeah, always
had
liked
drug
his
problems.
stuff. Yeah, I figured that he did, but I always liked his stuff, and he obviously made a lot of fat jokes about himself, and those are kinds of things that, you know, they're very obvious. You can see them coming from a mile away, but they're still really funny.
Why is it funny? Why is it funny?
It's because it's obvious, I think.
You think that's why? Because he's a fat guy telling fat jokes?
Never really thought much about it. I think it's because it's obvious or it's ironic. Maybe I'm not sure why. Why is it? An idea?
They always say when it comes to comedy, when you have to explain a joke to somebody, if you have to sit and try to figure out what makes something funny, it's not worth. Like they say, it's like dissecting a frog. Once you want to understand how a frog operates, once you cut him open and see all his guts and how it works, he's dead. And it's the same thing with a joke. If you have to explain what makes something funny, it's gone. It's like either you get it or you don't get it when it comes to jokes, you know. In reference to Panett, he was very funny. And there's a lot of fat guys doing jokes, but he was extremely character lovable, charismatic. And between you and me, he passed away from, he had drug issues, and I don't think it was well known, but it was pretty sad. He was a great guy, very funny guy.
Did you know Ralphie May? Because he was another big
Who's that?
guy. Ralphie May. I always liked his comedy.
No, I never met him. Never met him. No,
he had a real eating disorder. I think that's why he passed away.
I don't get to work. I've worked with some great comics too, really great comics, and working with comics all the time. You see, comics are flawed people. They're very flawed. They're broken very often. I mean, Rich Jenney was another guy back in the 90s too. Was a guy who was one of the brilliant comic writers you could ever see. You could watch all of his specials and laugh right now through it. And he killed himself. He died. You know, he had depression, and yet he was brilliant on stage. It seems like there's this brokenness that allows you to be funny, but doesn't allow you to live life well. And same thing happened with the guy who used to do the roasts from Long Island. Another great comic, you know.
It's like a coping mechanism, isn't it, in a way?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Well, it might be the same thing with like John too. It's like a coping mechanism to deal with the fact, or with Ralphie May as well, to deal with the fact that you've got
food is a reward system for me. When I gained a lot of weight and lost weight many times, and for some reason, after a show, I always felt like I deserved more. Now, people may feel that with drugs, maybe, I don't know, but to me, it would be better to have cheeseburger, fries, and a vanilla shake. You know, I mean, it's a reward system somehow, and I'm wondering if my mother breastfed me too much before I went to sleep. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
That's so interesting you say that, because it's Saturday morning here where I am now, and this would be the case any day of the week, but since it's Saturday morning, and it's Friday evening where you guys are, but it's Saturday morning here, so as soon as I'm done with the show, my plan today is, as with most shows on the weekend, I'm done with the show, I wrap it up, and then I go to the store and get myself, it's like a reward, get myself, you know, a snack or something. Same thing here with what I do.
Yeah, but you're healthy. I've read your books on food. If you're doing what you wrote in the book, you're in good shape. I'm not doing what you wrote in the book.
People in the chat said you still look good. Someone said you look like Clyde Lewis.
Yeah, with a thyroid condition. Actually, I look like the new Clyde. Actually, Clyde is brilliant. You know, I never met him or know him, but I've listened to his show many times, like your own, and that's why I love seeing the two of you guys together. I thought it was so great. I know you covered his show a few times as well. He's ill now, and he's coming back, right? Is he okay?
Coming back sooner than later, I would hope. I've been saying that for months, but yeah, he's doing better. Ron Patton, his producer, good friend of mine too. Ron's also not doing that well health-wise, but we should get you on his show. I think that
I would be happy to. Let me ask you a question. This is interesting too. When it comes to like what you're doing every day, I mean, I started back loving this type of material that you do back in the 80s. There was a radio. I used to listen to Art Bell. Art Bell was my favorite thing. Matter of fact, prior to Art, I'm going to show you how old I am. God damn, am I old? This aging stuff is not good. How old are you? I remember there was David Susskind. Have you ever heard that name? 35-year-old guy? Probably not.
That name, maybe not. Probably not.
70s, there was a guy named David Susskind, and he used to be on like 11 o'clock at night in New York, and he had on bizarre people that spoke to aliens and transvestites at the time, and very bizarre, like, and back in 1970, to see this on television was a big thing. And it was late at night, it was an hour-long show. And then later on, after David Susskind, another guy came on that was a very popular, Tom Snyder, his name was. And Tom Snyder also had on some bizarre people. Anyway, this bizarreness stuff was something I was always attracted to. And that's maybe why I was a magician. I always wanted to be a magician because I really wanted to know how things worked. And I loved the feeling that was given to you when someone fooled you and you couldn't figure it out. It drove me nuts.
I bet you love politics then.
No. Yeah. See, there you go. But see, that's not clever. It's just funny. It's not clever. What's the difference between funny and clever? That's the jump, right? And Art Bell came back to me in the late 70s or 80s, somewhere in there. And Art Bell was doing these late night shows, and I couldn't wait I would go on AM radio trying to listen to this guy. I really loved his material and the crazy shit he would have on all the time. And they sold a radio. I forget what it was called. I have it here somewhere.
The Crane?
Yeah, it may have been the Ukraine. Yeah.
Not Ukraine, so. Crane, just Crane radio. Yeah.
And it was a radio where you can put a cassette tape into it, record, and it had a radio in it, and you could record it, and it recorded it very slow. So you could get a 3 or 4 hour show on a 60-minute tape. C Crane, that's correct. C Crane.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So I would listen to all of his shows on cassette when I was driving around. I just loved it. And it hooked me into the strange. And I would try to deep research everything. And once the internet came about, it became even more deeper diving into to me, it was more important than comedy or anything. I really liked doing it. But I do notice that after doing a lot of shows, it's overwhelmingly heavy on the brain. I don't know how you do it every day. I just don't know how. I go out and do shows every day. I guess it's the same thing, but it's what you do. It takes much more mind power, in my opinion.
You know, I've thought about this myself. I've thought about this for comedians, and I've also thought it because, you know, comedians, they seem like they're always having a good time and laughing, but then a lot of them seem to be very depressed and have a lot of issues otherwise. Same thing with me. I might sound like I'm depressed. It's kind of the opposite. I might sound like I'm depressed and angry, but when I'm done with this, I'm usually having a good time, enjoying myself to the best that I can. I
don't think you sound depressed. I don't think you're just very level of a person. You're not this guy. You're the kind of this guy. You're floating on the top. You're not jumping the waves.
It might be that some listeners, that's how they feel. So when they listen, they feel like, you know, it's depressing. But then other people tell me like the show's really funny and energetic, and I think like I don't know if it's really energetic either. I think it is kind of this kind of level.
It's smart. It's smart. In my opinion, it's smart. And I'm not one of those comics that's depressed. I don't walk around. I'm actually a pretty happy guy, but I'm extremely analytical. So when people say, wow, after a show, you're very funny. I'm like, I'm funny when I do the act, but at home, I'm not that guy. I'm looking into all these silly things that I don't understand the world we live in. I don't feel part of it. I never feel like I belong here. I always feel as the odd guy out somehow. I don't feel, comfortable in my skin. I never felt like this is it. Doesn't make sense. None of this makes any fucking sense. And that's why you have to laugh at it. It just doesn't make any sense.
It is true. That's why you have to laugh at it. But I don't think anybody really feels like they belong in that skin. Sometimes the way that comedy works, the other day I wasn't even thinking about comedy, but I've learned my wife is really funny. I never have really met a funny woman before. And even when we were dating, I didn't really necessarily think there was much humor in her personality, but sometimes we have issues with language, right? So we have, she speaks, I'd say a solid 50% English, and then I speak a solid 50th of a percent Japanese. Not much, but we communicate pretty well. And there's a lot of times I think it's her delivery, and her mom used to tell her she was funny. So I think that she has a little bit of that in her background. With her friends used to tell her that too. But she was telling me something the other day. She said she used to do this, like, not a yacht club, but some kind of boat thing, which is pretty, I guess, popular here in Japan. I think it was like some kind of boat thing. But she said she failed at it. And I don't think she was telling a joke. I just thought it was so funny. She said, I failed at it. And I said, why'd you fail? She said, well, we had to tie these knots. And I know how this came up. We had this little tiny thing for our son. We have this little tiny, what is it? Like it plays like music or, waves, like a white noise machine. So she tied it really poorly, and it just fell off. It kept falling off. And I said, you don't know how to tie a knot? I said, I can show you how to tie a knot. She said, no, I used to do this boat thing. And she said, but I failed because I didn't know how to tie knots. So my boat would be going and then it would just tip over. And I said, well, that's not good. She said, it's okay. I could swim. And it just hit me really hard. I thought it was hilarious.
How old is your kid?
A couple of months old.
Oh, baby. I just became a grandfather.
Did you?
Yeah. So great. Love it. Yeah. Wow. So your wife is funny. So she's a year old. It's the greatest joy in my life. The greatest joy. The greatest joy in my life. It really is. I babysat yesterday, and the greatest joy. I had a joke, which is so true. My daughter, when she first came over, she was pregnant, and she goes, what are we going to name the baby? I said, whatever you want. She goes, it's a little girl. We should name her after mom. I said, you want me to call my granddaughter a bitch? And she almost broke her water, and my wife didn't talk to me for 2 days. So it's such a true story. It's so true. But because it's just, I don't mean that. It wasn't mean. It's just funny. It's just funny,
Yeah, it's just a joke. It's funny.
Yeah, it's not real. It's none of this. It's like your wife's orgasms. They're fake. But so your wife has a good comedy. I'm sorry. Your wife has a good comedy muscle, apparently, is what you're saying.
Apparently so. Yeah. I've learned that the last year.
My wife's got a good sense of humor too. Yeah. So let me ask you this: this track and trace thing. I know you just gave me an explanation, but what about a digital ID? What do you think about that? They were trying to do, like, thinking about digital ID, and during COVID, they were like pushing that kind of thing to make sure they could all get banged up.
So normally I would have an entire, like, presentation probably to give on this. I don't like the idea of it, but here's another thing I've learned living overseas. I think a lot of the issues that are implied by a question like that, or implied by, my open dislike of a digital ID, I think a lot of it has to do with the trust in society. So, like, over here, trust is really high. You can leave I left my keys in my bike for several days. Nobody stole it. I go to the store. I see people leave, like, their purses in their bikes. No, I'm like, whoa, nobody stole that. I feel compelled to take it into the store to find the person because it's like someone's going to steal this. I'm just so used to that in the US.
Maybe you should, like, tape some money to the seat of your bike that encourage the thievery.
See what happens. Yeah. But I think it's an issue of trust. Because over here, if they they are doing this, not necessarily a digital ID, but they're merging they call it a My Number card, which is like your city ID for citizenship, that gets you with your health insurance and all that. They're merging all the cards and the IDs together into one thing for most of the cities here. And although it sounds like really scary, being here, I think, well, I don't know if I can necessarily trust the government, but there is so much trust in society. I don't know if this is really going to be a bad thing, because most of the stuff the Japanese does make life more efficient, and it makes life, easier. In the US, we're told all this stuff is supposed to make life easier and more efficient and safer and cleaner. And then it turns out it makes it 10 times worse in the other direction. So I think from an American perspective, I have a completely different view on those things, because there's like no trust, or it feels like there's no trust in our society. And every time we're told, hey, this is going to make it better, it ends up making it worse. And over here, when they say we're going to make it better, it actually does tend to make it better. Does that make sense?
Fascinating. That's fascinating, because to see the difference between the two countries just like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any experience of Japan. Does your wife not like Chinese people? Because the Chinese and the Japanese.
Yeah,
that's a loaded question.
It's a big question. They don't like them.
See, some of the comments there wrote just too that they thought that COVID was a social experiment, which I kind of agree with on a large level as well.
Did you ever put any of your puppets in masks?
Yeah, I did that for a while. It was a quick gag. I also would take the puppet out and I would take his temperature before we did the show, like in front of everybody. This is again, that whole COVID thing. There was so many great COVID jokes. I mean, I remember they used to say during COVID, I would go outside, unzip my fly, take out my penis, and walk her out straight like this. And if you saw it, you're too close. That's it. But nobody ever saw it. And the other biggest joke was that if you're wearing a mask, I was going to be running away from you, because anyone that wore a mask, I was like, you're an asshole, and I'm not, and I didn't do it. I almost got arrested in the supermarket a few times, and I had a lot of problems with. I didn't want to.
Congratulations.
And I wasn't an angry guy. I just didn't want to comply.
Tell me that story real quick. What happened? What exactly happened?
I was in the vegetable aisle, and I walked in, and I wasn't wearing the mask, and they came over the management, and they started talking to me and told me that, you can't do this and you have to do that. Can you put it on? And I said, it doesn't make a difference. And they go, yes, it does. And I said, I could take a cigarette out and blow smoke right now. And if you're wearing a mask, the smoke's going to go through the mask. It's not thick enough to stop this microscopic, COVID virus. So why is this me breathing this here going to, and it also was a mandate. It's not a law. And I didn't want to do it. And, 10 minutes later, they're calling the cops, and I just left. I was like, okay, I was out.
That happened to me in Maryland when I was traveling. Same kind of a thing. Of course, they had a guy at the door. I guess he considered himself a security guard, not like a mall cop type of a thing, but he was like a store worker that thought he was a guard. And it looked like he was like a 5-star general of the liberal left. He had, I swear to God, he had a pin on for everything. It was like a rainbow flag, an LGBTQ flag, BLM. It was like a 5-star general. And then they called the cops on me and said that, you're not welcome in the store. I said, isn't that discrimination?
There's another thing, the symbolism, right? The symbol. I have to look who I am. Here's my identity. This is who I am. I have an identity. I don't buy into the identity either. That's ridiculous. It's like, this is what I'm saying about it. You don't fit in the world very well today. Nothing doesn't make any sense. We went from lunacy to like insanity in such a short amount of time. And then agendas that started being pushed upon us was, I don't know if it was an experiment or not. I don't know. I know a lot of money was made, I will tell you this though, during the pandemic, I don't know about you, but did you wear your underwear on your head to your doctors and make a statement, comply with facial covering?
What did somebody ask?
I don't know about you. No, Jack, you're funny, B13. I like funny. Oh, it's her again. I'm sorry.
Jackie.
It's her. Did you just look at my Facebook page? Because I wrote a joke about my underwear. My favorite joke about underwear is whenever I do a show, I always go, there's beautiful women here. As soon as I go home, I'm going to take off my wife's underwear. Looking at you ladies, I'm going to go home and rip her underwear off. And I say, because they're really tight. It's a wonderful joke. Speaking of jokes, it just hit me about the guy's head. Yeah.
What guy's head?
There's a joke about a guy's, there's a couple jokes about heads. There's this one, why am I thinking of heads? because I'm doing the underwear. See, that's the connection.
Getting head, giving head,
No,
or just
there's a lot of great getting head jokes too. About a head, a kid's born in the hospital, and they say, "Listen, he's got some problems. His body's not going to work, but we can take his head off, and you can raise him as a head, and hopefully the technology change over the next decades, so we can give him a body someday. I know this. You always wanted a baby. It's up to you." They say, "Okay, we'll take him home." So they take little Jimmy home. And he's a head. They put him on a pillow. They bring him home. And he's a little baby, and he grows and he grows and he grows and he grows. All of a sudden, his 13th birthday comes. The parents get a phone call from the doctor. They go, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, guess what? A kid, I'm sorry to say, there was a kid that was in an accident. He had his head sliced off. We have the technology. We have the whole body. Everything's running perfectly. It's sustained. You bring little Jimmy in. We're going to attach him to his body. And for the first time, you'll have a full 13-year-old boy." She's ecstatic. She runs into the room and goes, "Jimmy?" She goes, "Yeah." He goes, "It's your 13th birthday. We got the greatest news for birthday. We have a gift for you you're going to really like." And he goes, "Great. Another fucking hat?" I know it's a stupid joke, but it's just in my head.
That's one of those.
Another head joke like this too. A guy puts an ad and he says, I want to hire a guy for our swim team to lead our swim team. Audition's open. Gets a ring on the door. Guy comes to the door, rings a bell. He opens the door and he goes, "Can I help you?" And the guy's got no arms. He goes, "I want to apply for the job." He goes, "You got no arms." He goes, "Trust me." He walks in, jumps into the pool, back and forth. The guy goes, "You're hired." Just then the bell rings again. He opens up the door. This guy there with no arms and no legs. He goes, "What do you want?" He goes, "I want to apply for a job." He goes, "You got no arms?" He goes, "Trust me." He picks up his body, throws it in the pool, even faster. He goes, "You got the job." Just as he do that, bell rings. It's a head at the door on a pad. He goes, "Can I help you?" He goes, "I want to apply for a job." He goes, "You're just a head." He goes, "Trust me." He goes, "All right." After I've been through, he picks up his head. He throws him in the pool. The head goes, he's choking. The coach is like, "Fuck." He goes and he grabs his head, pulls him up, starts blowing and giving him CPR. And the guy goes, the water comes out. And he goes, "Are you okay? What happened?" He goes, "I had a cramp." That's it.
That reminds me of there was, I don't know how much of a joke it was, but there's a lot of great Florida man stories, as I'm sure you know, a lot of great Florida headlines. And I think it was Florida. There was a great headline a couple of years ago. It might've been a decade ago. And it was like about a quadriplegic. And it said the quadriplegic committed, I don't know, did something. It said he's considered armed and on the run.
On the run. It's a bad pun, very bad pun, but funny. Yeah.
That's Florida news. Florida news.
Hey, I wanted to show you this trick I was working on. You're the second person to show it to if you want to see it.
Yeah, let's see it. Don't turn a trick, but you can show us a trick.
Can you see this?
Appears to be a beer bottle.
A beer bottle. Yes, a beer bottle. So this is a bar bet. I don't know if you've ever heard of this. So I have a cap. This is for the people that on your podcast that are listening. This is perfect. And here's the cap, right? So the question is, when you go to a bar, this has been a bar bet that's gone on for a long time. You say, "Hey, I want you to put this inside the beer bottle without breaking the bottle."
Put the cap inside the beer bottle.
Yeah, without breaking the bottle. And if you could do it, I'll give you $5. So you say to the person, "Can you do it?" And then you give it to them and they try to do it, right? How would you get this beer bottle cap into the beer bottle?
Without breaking it.
Yes. Most people get it pretty quickly, but it depends how you see the world, you know?
Now you're saying you can't break the bottle. What about the cap? The cap can
whatever you want, but you just can't break the bottle and put this in.
It's funny. I feel like I'm clever, but I never get stuff like this.
Okay, it's fine. So a lot of people get it. Some people don't. I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you're super brilliant.
No,
you're definitely a brilliant person. So the simple version is you take the thing, you go like this, bend it.
That's what I was going to say. You bend it.
Yeah, I think you were going to go see that. And then you go like this. And there you go.
It's inside now. So it's okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If I can get it out.
It's weird because there are certain things like that to me, that's what I would have done. But I felt like I felt like that was too simple. I felt like
So
that was,
as a magician, though, how would you do it? That's the point. So as a magician, you take the cap. I'm going to try to get this close. And you go like this through this bottom. Hope you can see that.
Now the question is, how did he do it?
That's the trick.
You can't reveal that.
And it gets better. You know why? Because people say that's a pretty good trick, right? Look at this.
He's
all right. You're the second person I showed that trick to.
So it has does it have a plastic covering over the bottle?
Oh, this is clearly glass. It's glass.
Well, what you just removed there, it looked like a plastic.
That was the label. I took the label. I squeezed the label. I squeezed it. Look at how cool that is. Anyway, that's a little trick I just started playing with. I thought it was really, really cool.
Did you create that, or?
No, I wish I did. I did invent a trick called up-and-away.tv, which is levitation, which I sell all the time, which is great. I levitate people.
You're telling me after all those years of the secret space program, people saying, or David Wilcock and others saying they can levitate, never proving it, John Pizzi is the one that has the ability to
I'm levitating people. Yeah, but I only do it for like 6 inches.
If only Wilcock would have hired John.
Hey, so tell me about the Wilcock thing, because matter of fact, I was watching the other night a documentary. There's 2 documentaries, which he's on, of course, with Corey Good. They had that whole, it was on Prime. There's a thing about Corey Good. It's an hour-long special about him, his life, and shows you his wife and his kids and all this stuff. And then they did one. There was one that came on right after with Corey Good with the secret space program. Now, I don't know a lot about this. I know you do. I know you do it on the inside, but I understand that Corey Good, when he hooked up with the other guy, everything from that point went to shit. That's the common knowledge thing. Corey no good. So what, in a simplistic, bottled way, is what transitioned through all of this? Really, what happened?
You mean from the beginning, or you mean after, when David passed away, or?
Yeah, I guess from when the past, because there's so much. I mean, I know in the beginning you had issues that you spoke about it on your specials in the past. I know that.
Yeah, for a long time. I mean, I don't know. David had been around speaking since the 90s, claiming that he was able to channel the being Ra, had these prophecies, dreams he had written down, claimed that we were going to ascend in 1999, 2000, 2012, 2025. None of that obviously ever happened. A lot of predictions about things that never came to pass, mass arrests, hover cars, stuff like that.
Right.
That's like the issue with all of his failed predictions and whatnot. He worked with Corey at Gaia TV, as most people know, and Corey recently, in a deposition, as a result of lawsuits that he filed, as far as I understand all the details, admitted that he'd made up all of his secret space program stories. He had convinced David to leave Gaia TV, so he's partly responsible for David having lost a very solid source of income. David obviously lived way outside of his means, spent too much money, then claimed he was, I mean, it's not making fun of the dead, but when you live in a multi-million-dollar log cabin and you have tens of thousands of dollars worth of bison steaks in your freezer, and you show your refrigerator on camera to people, and you've got like $100 worth of coconut water and raspberries, and in your letter to tell people that you were living in poverty and starving to death. I mean, that's just kind of like a great one last joke on the way out. And then to also claim that he claimed in the letter that he was dying of disease. But that's funny too, because like he said that he was sick because he was taking horse paste. And I don't mean ivermectin. I mean, he was literally taking medicine for horses.
By the way, not to interrupt you, but that's my next question is about ivermectin and what's it called?
I'm not sure what the other one is.
The combination of ivermectin and fembenzodan. People are saying it cures cancer, but not to interrupt you there. So, do you think Corey Good killed himself?
You mean David Wilcock?
David Wilcock. I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, Corey had said that people wished it was him. This is just a wild. Well, he did a thing that was almost like a bit too. He did like a 11-minute video. I'll answer your question, but he did like an 11-minute. Corey Good did an 11-minute video where he comes on. He's like crying. You know, he's really sad. You know, his friend, even though David and him were not really friends, and he does this thing where he says, you know, people wish it would have been me who killed myself, which is just a wild thing to say after your supposed friend just killed himself.
Yeah.
And then Corey goes on to say, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he goes on to basically do this like bit where he says, yeah, it's awful. My friend died. It's horrible. I'm broken up about it, but I'm going to be at the Holiday Inn and you guys can get tickets. It's ridiculous.
So self-serving in the end anyway. I'm going to use that as an ad to get more people to come see me speak. You know, that's another thing. This whole industry is so filled with such bullshit, and it just gets in the way of truth. And there's so many people and so many ways to make money selling books about things that don't exist, and yet at the same time, truth is muddled. And that's why research is you need to do deep dives, and then also get out of your own way and don't make opinions. It's so difficult.
Yeah, I found it hard when you say research. You know, obviously nowadays people think that's Chat GPT,
right?
Or it's like Gemini, or you just go and you ask the modern version of Jeeves, or ask Jeeves, the old search engine. You just add the modern version of that. But like research isn't just going and reading something and thinking you understand it. Research is like finding sources for things. There's a lot of things that I find. I mean, whether it's reading Edward Gibbon, The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, and reading stuff historically about Christianity, and then having Christians tell me that's stupid. Where'd you hear that from? It was like the most authoritative historian one of the most authoritative historians ever. Like you learn things that are that's such a famous book too. And I read this thing, and there's so much in it that just contradicts every like mainstream thing I was taught about Rome or Christianity or even Judaism or whatever the case might be. And it's such a mainstream thing, but it conflicts with all the mainstream narratives. So like when you do research, you find the sources for things. That to me, that's what. And then it's like you can interpret the source of things as whatever you want to interpret it as. But it's like the source. It's like the document. Like when I tell people, you know, Hitler offered a 16-point peace plan to the British over and 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 over again. It's in newspapers. People tell me that's like anti-Semitic or supporting Hitler. It's like, no, it's just a historical fact. And here's the newspaper. The newspaper. Like, I guess the point of what I'm getting at is it doesn't matter to me whether someone believes it or not. And it's not even a matter of my own belief. It's a matter of this is the document. We can discuss and debate whether it's real and what the context is, but it is true that this is an article, or that this is a document about something. And to me, that's what research is. It's not about necessarily even proving, myself or others right or wrong. It's just about like finding sources for things and, looking at them.
Are you an atheist, Ryan?
No, I'm not an atheist.
What are you?
I don't really have a classification. I maybe call myself a Shintoist, but that's not really a thing. It doesn't really exist in Japan. So practice Shinto, but not really anything. But I'm not an atheist.
Have you ever been ill and said, please help me to someone?
Not really. Honestly, no, not really.
Not yet.
Maybe not yet.
Sorry,
I don't really
dark.
Maybe 20 years. I don't know. But no, I don't really get, maybe I don't get ill enough to do that.
Hopefully never. But this is a one-way ticket. There's no getting out of this game. You know that.
I think that's why I don't do those things, because I know last time I was on a plane, for example, they had said, they had said, we're going to run into some really rough turbulence. And I'm always thinking of that movie Final Destination, where he has this like vision. He turns the little tray table thing and it breaks off like his vision. He knows the plane's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Every time, so I don't put the tray table down until we're in the air, and far into our journey.
So you have idiosyncrasies hitting you.
Yeah, exactly. Every time I fly. But the last time I flew, I just thought, like my wife asked me, "Are you nervous?" I said, "No." And she didn't ask me why. I just said, "No, not nervous." And she wasn't nervous either. She works within the airline industry. And we're flying, and I'm just thinking, like, if the plane crashes, like, I can't do anything. It's going to be over really fast. Like, life's going to end whether I eat well or I don't eat well. I'd like to live a good life and not be sick. So that's why I try to eat really well. But like, life's going to end anyway. So I guess it doesn't really bother me, which I think is also, when you read a lot of old, like, occult magic books,
right?
That is kind of the whole point of the old mystery traditions, the old secret societies. Like, the whole point is to overcome the fear of death. So maybe I've come to that conclusion through spending my life reading those types of texts. That's what momentum.
You're saying that you're not afraid of death? I thought you're saying you're not afraid of death?
I'm afraid of
it sounds like you're just telling me. It sounds like you're analytically in your mind on a plane, analytically working yourself out of fear.
Yeah,
right?
A little bit. I do that with everything. Yeah. No, I'm honestly more afraid of going into like a convenience store in the US in the middle of the night where there's like a gang of people hanging out front of the store. I'm more afraid of that than dying in a plane crash or something like that.
Yeah, it's almost like
because of death.
Your name is victim when you go to that 7-Eleven at 3 in the morning, count the victim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if I fight back, it's an act of racism. So it's I'm dead and a
racist. So you don't have what are you afraid of? If that you're not fear of death. I mean, it's easy to say I don't fear death, and I sometimes think I don't either. But when you have an illness or something that may take you down, the fear of God or whatever you want to call it comes into you very quickly. You start to think about, I've had issues in my life where I remember being in a hospital, having an operation, doing things. And I remember thinking to myself, if this was, this could be it or whatever. And you start thinking about, after you get out of it, not forgetting it. And then you start thinking about every day and every moment is much more important. And I want to bring joy and happiness to whatever I'm doing, as opposed to be involved in things that are going to bring me down and make me feel bad and unhappy and fighting and,
Maybe this is a great question. I've never really talked about this on my show before, but I think for me, a lot of it is I worry so much. Like, I'm always making a note of something. I'm always making a list, compulsively, to the point where sometimes it's a problem for me. That
as part of the work, or as part of your work, or the life?
No, the life. And it benefits the work, but it's, a pain outside of the work. It's kind of like there's some rappers that have a really good voice, some singers that have a really good voice, but when you hear them talk outside of the studio, it sounds really weird because it's like a voice for the,
like the Beatles.
Yeah. What's that?
The Beatles had that kind of like, they sang beautifully and then they talk with that English accent kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's kind of like that. So it benefits the show. It benefits what I do with research, but so anyway, the point is, though, when I'm doing those kinds of things, I guess, like, I work myself, I build so many scenarios in my head that I kind of take care of every I've considered every potentiality, or I think I have, so nothing really affects me. It's more like situational things that worry me. Like, I'll give you an example.
If you were to pass away, God forbid, now you have a little baby, so you want to make sure that baby's taken care of. Who's going to be the male figure in the life? Who's going to financially, who's going to be there to pick her up, put her in there, help her to school, do the things that give her the manly influence, the testosterone-based influence to the woman, the balance between a husband and a wife, the beauty of the growth to make the person a well-balanced person. So when you say worry, you say think about it. You can't think of everything. Life is just so sporadic and so
maybe I burn myself out. Maybe I burn my thought process out. So by the time I get to the point of like, oh, I could die, I don't even have the capacity to care. Maybe it's that. I don't know. But I think it's situational, and it's like there's probably a psychological term for it. You know, they call, like, with what you're sexually attracted to, they call that sexual imprinting, like whatever you were interacting with as a kid. I'm sure there's something like that with fear too. Like you almost drowned as a kid, so you're afraid of water or something like this. Like when I first came to Japan, I was living in Tucson, and you definitely don't walk down an alley in Tucson. You definitely don't walk out on the street at night in most parts of Tucson. I didn't even want
Nancy Guthrie.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to do a lot of that stuff in Tucson at night. So when I first came to Japan, I had no idea where I was at, like what the quality was of the city I was in. I was in a place called Ebisu, which turns out was a really fancy little city, but my hotel was actually really cheap. So I was walking, and like I wasn't afraid of dying over the Pacific Ocean on this 12-hour flight. That didn't bother me. So if the plane goes down, what am I going to do? But then when I got to Japan, like I was genuinely afraid because I didn't know where I was, but I was walking down this back alley. And as an American and as someone who has been involved in a lot of things where there's bad people that try to rob you, I saw this person coming towards me, and I was very afraid. Like I was genuinely afraid. If I got most of my stuff with me, so I can't really run or I can't really fight them. I have to drop this backpack real fast. I'm theorizing, or I'm planning. It's the scenario. And it ends up being like a 12-year-old girl, in one of the school uniforms walking by. And then my brain starts thinking, why is this 12-year-old walking down the street at like 10, 11 o'clock at night by herself? That's really dangerous. I could have been the criminal.
That's right.
Yeah. But they just don't, I guess, worry about that over here. So being afraid of things is situational for me, I suppose. It's like Bill Burr said. He said, it doesn't really matter if someone's black or white. If someone's walking towards you at night in a car garage and there's nobody else around, it's you're going to get scared because you don't know what the situation is. It's a situational thing for me.
Fear is the mind killer.
It is the mind killer. Yep.
It is the mind killer, and it's in the head, and you don't know if it's in reality until it happens, but you should be prepared. I keep telling my daughter that all the time. My daughter thinks that my wife and I are both insanely over the top. Like we have cameras around our property, and we have like,
you got puppets in your house.
We're always thinking ahead, like what could possibly go wrong if something happens, and maybe that's age. And my daughter's like clear-headed, like, no, I'm not gonna lock my door, whatever, everything's fine. I don't need a camera in here when somebody's watching the debate. I'm like, what are you talking about? You need everything should be monitored. You should make sure that everything's like you're in control. I'm not a control freak, but I want to make sure that safety is the utmost thing. Like her and her husband went to Cuba for 2 vacations. And I was like, what are you doing? Why are you going to Cuba? Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's how I think. Yeah, there's no way I'd do that.
They went. They thank goodness they went just before it all fell apart. It's falling apart now. I mean, they went last year, and then they went 3-4 months ago, last June or something. They've been around.
I think the U.S. military is going to get a free trip down there in the next couple of months.
You ever hear the Cuban national anthem?
Probably. Don't know it off the top
It's
of my head.
called "Row, Row, Row Your Boat."
I think you told me a joke about that, or about the. You ask a Mexican what they think Roe versus Wade was. They said there were 2 ways to cross the Rio Grande.
Oh, I remember that joke. I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot all about that joke.
That was a good joke.
There was a joke too about speaking of people dying. A guy named Jeffrey, he marries a woman named Jody, and they make a pact. They said, if either one of us passes, please go to psych and see if we could communicate with each other. So the guy Jeffrey dies. Jody goes to the lady with the ball, and she's like, the medium, she's saying, Jeffrey, can you hear me? And all of a sudden you hear, yes, it's me. And she goes, oh my goodness, are you okay? He goes, yes, I'm wonderful. She goes, how is everything? He goes, everything is perfect. He goes, are you happy? He goes, yes, I'm very happy. Are you more happy than when we were married? He goes, yes, I'm super happy. She goes, oh, heaven must be wonderful. And he goes, who says I'm in heaven? It's a marriage joke.
What joke is the easiest joke for you to write? Ethnic jokes, marriage jokes, social observations?
That's a good question. Nobody ever asked that question before. just for that, I'd have to contemplate that. And we don't have a lot of time. I like classic humor, which is set up, punch, 1, 2, 3, punch. I like that kind of joke. So that's the basic of all humor. And so I would say, I don't know if it's necessarily ethnic, but it's set up, punch. But ethnic jokes are easier because you know the premise of where you go. I guess ethnic is easier because you know where you're going. You definitely do. It's that's an interesting question, though. Yeah, I never thought about it because you don't think about when you're writing jokes. You just think about what's funny. You want to connect the two different parts.
I ask that because for me, I've learned relatively recently that there are some things that I used to have to prepare for my shows a lot more than I do now, but I've done it for so long. It's like a comedian who has a set, like the set, you go do it. For me, I've learned that there are certain things, if I don't have time to prepare, I could just sit down and do a show on them without preparing. So, it's like UFO shows or certainly occult symbol shows. And when it comes to certain things like politics I really have to prepare those because I don't, I don't know. I try to apply the occult stuff to it to make it easier to do.
I love the stuff that you've done on symbolism that really, really, I think I mentioned to you the first time you spoke to me, I had really difficulty understanding the book. It was really in depth. It wasn't just surface. It's like a study book. It's not necessarily just you read it and you understand it and you walk away. It's a Bible. It was challenging for me to start to understand it. I will tell you that the email that you sent me was much more clear than anything else. It was really great. I probably should send you the email back.
It's only a couple of sentences. It was only a couple of sentences, right? Just like a paragraph.
Yeah, but it was very. I have it here. I have it on my phone somewhere if you want it. I mean, I love laughter is the thing I do, but laughter is tribal.
Let me ask you something before we are out of time. Well, you can pull that up. And don't mean to.
I've heard that before, but only with Japanese women.
If you have time, if you want, we can do a third hour and then cut the show off. Or if you need to go, we can go.
It's up to you. Whatever you want to do. I mean. What do we stop and take a break or come back or
we can take a short break? We can take a short break. I need to use the restroom actually. We can take a short break.
That happens when you're 35. Wait till you're 45. You're gonna have to use it once every hour.
Every hour, yeah.
Yeah, sure. If you want to do more, I'll do more. Are we going good? Is it looking good?
I was gonna say that's why Clyde, he's an older guy, that's why he takes so many breaks every 10 minutes.
Yeah, prostate issues. Speaking of I just had my first prostate exam. It was really weird because during it, it's really this is like the craziest thing. I mean, I don't know if this is common, but it's very, well, men, you'll understand. It's women that are in the chat wouldn't it? It's very common during your prostate exam to get an erection, right? I just wish my doctor didn't.
Hold on. There might. I'm sorry, I cut you off on the punchline. I apologize.
That's the greatest punchline.
I was going to say there's probably some women in our chat that might have penises too. You never know. So they might know what it's like to get an erection. I apologize for cutting off the punchline.
That's quite all right. I got a million of them. It's quite all right. Yeah, all right. I'll take a break. We'll come right back. We'll be right back. We'll do whatever you want.
Let's take a break. Or we could do this. I'll go grab a drink and go to the restroom, and you can host the show for a second.
I could do that, and then you could host a show while I go take a pee.
Let's do that. Instead of playing music or something.
This is great. This is a very good challenge. I will sit here while you go take a pee and talk to the guests.
I've never done this before. This will be the first time ever. So John Pizzi hosts the Secret Teaching.
Yeah, that's what she says every time. You ever hear that joke? How many times you ever slept with anyone before? No, only several before you. Of course not. All right, go ahead. Go do your pee-pee. Right. I'm going to talk to these people in the chat. Go ahead, folks. While Ryan is certainly chatting, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions while I'm sitting here. Go ahead.
I'll come back. The show will be gone and we'll be banned from YouTube.
Yeah, and make sure you're muted too, because we don't want to hear trickling.
Well, I got one of those Japanese toilets, so it's got built-in soundproofing.
You're going to pee. It'll be a short story.
Yeah, well, we got these are built into the toilets here. We got soundproofing into the toilets.
Oh, you have it all. You have it all. Yeah. That's very funny. Somebody wrote easy pee-pee. That's that Hermit guy again. Very clever guy. I like Hermit guy. John, do you have a favorite comedian active today? Yes, my favorite comedian. Go ahead, Ryan. It's good. Go do what you got to do. I got you covered. I got you covered.
Wants to host? I'll be back. I'll be right.
Yeah, my favorite comic is Dave Attell. Dave Attell is really very clever, super strong. He's the kind of guy that does dick jokes in a clever way. It's not direct. It's very clever. So I worked with him a couple of times, and I love him. It will be up in smoke when you come back, Ryan. Yeah, thanks, Flux Capacitator. Thanks, Flux. I stand in business. Let's say, John, now you have, teach us a secret. Would you like to learn the secret of this bottle? You could go to my website, WTFMagicShop.com. That's I own a magic shop online, and we sell this. This is a new product. It's pretty impressive, actually. But I can't tell people here, the magicians will hate me, of course. Coil One Good, whatever that means. Used to love Insomniac. Yeah, that was a great show. He's a crazy guy, Dave. He's one of the best comics out there, especially when it comes to roasts. He's really, really strong. What's his name? Doug Giraldo was a great comic. Greg Giraldo, another great comic that was passed away. I'm curious, and we'll have to book. Oh, you want the WTF Magic Shop? Oh, I have several sites. It's johnpizzi.com. There's WTFMagicShop.com, which shows you the levitation I was talking about with Ryan that I invented, that I sell to other magicians. It's pretty impressive. And then I have BestMagicianNJ.com, which is about me doing family type shows. No, he didn't die of COVID, Joey Durr, 8073. He drug overdose. Another comic that was just going back to the room late at night, 2 a.m, all hyped up and taking drugs. And it's sad because he was brilliant, truly, truly, truly brilliant. It seems like the most brilliant comics are the most ones, something about drugs. I'm going to tell you folks, seems to me that the humor with puns on words makes us think word would be the hardest to come up with. Am I correct? Puns are actually the easiest because it's more of a simplified sense of humor. The harder stuff is doing clever stuff. Clever is more deeply buried. How far can you throw my voice? I got a puppet here. When he comes back, I'll show you the puppet. Just to go back for a moment about what I was going to say about the, I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh. Hugs, not drugs, guns, I mean. Yeah, you're right. Ralphie May too. Rest in peace. Great comic. There's a lot of great comics. Comedy is, so do I. Goy, P91. Comedy is everything to me. Laughter is the most important thing that you own that can't be taken away from you. The government can have COVID and tax you to death and do all kinds of things to throw you in jail, but they can't take away your sense of humor. It's internal. It's an internal item, and you own it, and it's yours, and it should never be taken away, and it should be relished like a hot dog. Yeah. So, in reference to this ventriloquism stuff, that is done like sitcom humor with two people. So when you do a sitcom, it's always done in dialogue form, where you write everything in dialogue, where there's two different people. So when you're doing ventriloquism with a dummy, you're writing jokes in the dialogue form, like a sitcom. So sitcom humor is basically dialogue form. A lot of sitcoms that are greatest sitcoms always were written 1-2 setup punch dialogue form. One of the interesting things about that is when there was a show with black comedian, very famous, went on for many years, who went to jail for raping women while they were sleeping. The guy with the chocolate pop commercial, you all know him. They would call him like the grandfather of comedy. When he hired people to write, I had a couple of my friends write on this comedy show. He told them, whatever you do, please do not write in 1-2 setup punch. He wanted the characters to be so strong that anything they said was funny, which was very brilliantly smart in the early 2000s and late 90s when they did his show. So comedy comes in many different forms. Pudding Pops Cosby. Yeah. Bill Cosby. I did a lot of jokes about Bill Cosby, by the way, and so did everybody else. And now I'm doing jokes about P. Diddy. P. Diddy. I usually take out the dummy and he goes, I'm P. Diddy. And I go, really? He goes, girls, you want a drink? And I go, what kind of drink is that? He goes, it's a P. Diddy drink. You drink it, you pass out, your ass hurts. Boom, boom. Matter of fact, the greatest P. Diddy joke is, how come, what is the P. Diddy? Without the dummy in my hand, it's hard to remember the jokes, believe it or not. I forgot it. See, I need that puppet in my hand to like remember the humor. Kind of bizarro. Yeah, Bill Cosby. Pretty sad story about that Bill Cosby, guys. All right, what other questions do we have here? Deborah Parsons, yes, Cosby and flux capacitor. It happens to be the best. Yes, it does. Hey, so while Ryan's gone, maybe we could do something that'll, when he comes back, will be really fun. Like everybody write in the chat that, hey, oh, too late. All right, it's too late. I see a movement here. I was going to say, everybody write in the chat, go back to the bathroom.
I did something, it took me a second because I wanted to show you. I took a picture of this little device. I don't know if I can show this to you. Hold on. Because you had asked earlier about this. I
asked you.
You asked me. Let me ask you something. You asked me about this. This is a Japanese toilet.
Let me see.
We have this.
That's not a toilet. That's a sink.
No, we don't pee in the sink. This is the top of the
toilet. You
pee
in the shower?
Sometimes we pee in the sink. It just kind of depends. But no, we got this little sink on top of the toilet. So what happens is the water comes down. You wash your hands, and it goes and fills up the toilet bowl. So you save water. Pretty brilliant.
I did watch this on that YouTube thing. Oh, and that I didn't see, but I did watch that thing. They said that the water goes through there, so the water that you wash your hands with is not wasted because it goes into the tank that you flush with.
Right. That's
right. Brilliant. It's simple.
Brilliant.
It's simple and brilliant.
Now, see, I don't understand. This is something that that's kind of like my tagline on this show. Like, I don't understand why. As Americans, we talk about saving the environment, saving water, clean, got to save the green, et cetera. We got to make sure everything's, efficient, but like nothing is. And over here, they don't really talk about that stuff. They just do it. Like why can't we have these toilets in America? And the funny thing is, when I agree. Talked about
first of all, I have a heated toilet with the thing that comes out and sprays your butt and does all that stuff in my main bathroom because I redone my bathroom, and then we got this upgraded toilet and the heated seat and the blue light and the whole thing. I have it, but I don't have this thing that you have here. It looks like you have a red button. What's the red button?
That's so you've got your these two here for people that can't see. We've got it's a bidet. It's probably the same thing that you have.
Oh, I thought the one in the middle meant you're jizzing on a breast. I'm sorry.
It does.
I was way off on that.
I'm never going to look at that one the same way again.
Speaking of jizzing on the breast, I found out that women really don't like it, especially the two women on the bus with their kids yesterday. But so the red button.
You do it in public. It's not. Yes.
The red button is what, on or off?
That tells you to stop. So
don't spraying my ass with water,
and don't jizz on the breasts. That's stop the jizz spray.
The third button looks like the water goes the other way versus directly in the rectum.
Yes, so I don't really use either one of them because I'm scared of them. But it's two different positions on the underside, and then the red button stops it. And if you want to learn a little kanji, that kanji there is the kanji for stop.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, that's what that is. Then here you have. I've never used all of these. I'm actually afraid to push them. I'm not sure what they do, even though I can read some of it. I still am afraid to push it. I don't know what it's going to do. But
I tried it once, and I did not like. To me, this is just an exit. It's not a place to have all this fun with. This is like, I don't know. This doesn't. I don't understand how people are even gay. I don't get any of this. This doesn't make sense to me, but okay. God bless America. Whatever.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say that's the reason they don't use the bidet because they're afraid that they'll enjoy it.
Oh, it's a fear of homosexuality. Okay.
For me, that's not what it is. I've used it. there's something about it that just feels, I guess I'm just too American. There's something about it that just feels it's too fancy for a toilet. I need my toilet to look like, the one that you were describing in New Jersey earlier. That's a toilet for me as an American. A hole in the ground at a national park.
I appreciate you showing us your innards of your working bathroom. That's pretty impressive.
Now we also have, this is another conservation thing that's built in over here. If you look at the top, this is the kanji for small, and that's the universal symbol for flush. Well, actually, it's the Indian symbol of galaxy, cosmos. But anyway, it's small flush, and this is the kanji for big, so big flush.
Wow.
So if you
I'm glad you show. I have a photographic memory. I'm just out of film, but I will remember those. Matter of fact, that circular. I know you're laughing at that, right? I'm only teasing. That's a stupid old joke. That's a really old joke. Film. Who uses film?
Well, you drop them in there so subtly that I like.
But you see the circular thing that reminds me of the symbol that they were using during the Pizza Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't show anybody my toilet; they'll think it's a pizza toilet.
That now we know what's going on in the Ryan house, the Gable home. Pizza Gate.
Don't press that button. If you press that button, the Podestas and the Clintons come in.
Yeah, right. Exactly. This is that's pretty interesting. Is this standard in Japanese homes?
I believe it is. I mean, this apartment we have is a new apartment, so I'm pretty sure that this is a standard that's installed now. But if you go even into older places, like we went to a really old building, a really old studio for when we did our pictures for the wedding, and they had something very similar to this. Japan's been known for its toilets for a long time, so I'm pretty sure it's a standard thing. But if you go to some places, they put the really fancy toilets in. It is not a joke. It's literally like this panel. It surrounds the toilet. It's on the wall.
Wow.
There's wires everywhere. I mean, it looks like some kind of, I don't know, it looks like someone was hooked up to a machine in a hospital. There's just wires everywhere, and it's very, there's too many buttons. They have music that plays. Some of it's automatic. It'll play music, so it washes out the sound of you peeing. Or
they take this shit seriously.
They do.
No pun intended.
Yeah, they do. They also have the George Costanza. I love this idea. The George Costanza stalls that go all the way down to the floor. So you can't look under the stall or peek up over the stall. You can't see people's feet. Like the whole thing is closed off, which I love that. It's private.
But you don't use those water buttons at all. You never even tried it.
No, I've tried them. I just don't really use them consistently.
I was going to say that's a dirty crack. All right. So see that? See how you did that? So that's a pun, by the way, for you folks questioning the difference between comedy. That's pun.
Now, I love puns. My show titles are puns. You've probably noticed a lot of my
kind of like them. Kind of do, and I kind of don't. I'm kind of.
Is wordplay the same thing? Is wordplay the same as the same as a pun, right?
Yes. Yeah. Kind of. Yeah. Wordplay can be a little more clever if it's written that way. I mean,
we'll see. This is something I wanted to bring up with you because, well, first of all, you probably noticed a lot of my show titles are puns or they're reference things, but it feels like in terms of comedy, you can play with words and you make jokes out of that. But I mean, without comedy, I do that on my show. People like Jordan Maxwell used to do that with words. You talk about
love Jordan Maxwell. Matter of fact, he wouldn't let me interview him unless I sent him $2,000. I know you knew him.
I knew him pretty well. Is that you serious?
Yeah. At the end, maybe it was 2000. I don't know how much it was. I was doing the show Pizzi +1, 2022 or 3. And I'm a big fan of Jordan Maxwell's. I really am. I watched all of his stuff and really, really loved the way he described things. And, he had like what you have, that kind of way to unmuddle things. And I emailed him a few times, asking to be on my show. And he was kind of like, he wanted to get paid for it. And I was kind of like, well, you've been on a million people's shows, and then I finally said, I tell you what, I'll send you all of my videos. And he sent me, I think I sent him $200 or $300, and he sent me all of his links to all of his shows that I can watch. And then he passed away. I guess he needed the money.
That's interesting. I mean, I know he needed the money, but I never heard of him tell people that.
It was towards the end.
Interesting.
I have all his links if you want them.
He had that same kind of not trying to be funny, but it's kind of humorous, the stuff that he would say. You know, he was very direct and very abrasive, and I always thought Jordan was kind of funny, intentionally.
I made notes about him. I remember that I really enjoyed the stuff about, you know, the black robes and Saturday, and the idea of in Islam they walk the opposite. Yeah, I love that. As a matter of fact, there was a guy I interviewed who was really amazing to me. And in fact, I think he's retired now, but he has other people doing it. There's a website called politicalislam.com. Are you familiar with that?
I think I've heard that name before, yes.
And it was politicalislam.com. And I interviewed this guy, and it was at a time when I didn't have really good sound and internet, and it got really choppy, and we kind of parked it. But it was one of the greatest interviews ever, and it was about Islam and how it's actually not a religion, but a political science to control people and create more of the same religion than it is to. It's about growing the religion politically than it is about the religion itself. And and I was against this, and I really didn't want to talk about this, because I'm not against anyone's religions. I don't want to ever offend people's religions. Even as a comic, I do, but not as a person, you know. And I put them on, and I will tell you, it was a lot of food for thought, a real lot of food for thought. And I'll tell you his name. I probably have it if you want, but I understand that the website is somebody took it over from. He was a professor out of like Virginia, I think it was, and he was doing here it is, and he was doing the shows. He was doing college speaking, talking about this. And he got thrown out and banned from all the colleges because it's politically incorrect. But here it is. His name is politicalislam.com. He has an author in books. His name is Dr. Bill Warner, Warner. I think you'd probably love checking him out, because I know you do the dives, you know.
I wonder, so people have made the same argument about Christianity, obviously. Christianity is a control system, right? It's a control mechanism. And people even make that argument about Judaism. And I think that broad statements like that are, I don't know if I want to say inaccurate or if I want to say just kind of misleading, but you know, nothing, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and all the different denominations, nothing really grows out of, I think, one singular intent. Things evolve over time, and you study the history of those religions, like there were people that had different interpretations of the teachings, you know, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, the different sects. And I don't think anything was really invented as a system of control, but can things evolve into that or be exploited for that? Like clearly Islam has been turned into that by some, and clearly that's what the Roman Empire did with Christianity.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely. And I do remember the things that he said that stuck in my mind dramatically. And the first one was that apparently the leader fell down a well, and suddenly when he came out was enlightened and had all this information. And apparently he was and I'm not an expert in any of this at all. I really am not. I'm just reiterating what I remember. He's saying that when he came out, he was enlightened, and he was telling people about, and he would go from town to town trying to convert people to his religion. And apparently, if they didn't later on, he wasn't getting everybody in as much as he wanted. And then he started, either you're with us or you're without us. And if not, they would kill people and cut off their heads and stick them on spikes and say, you're either with us or not. And then eventually, as time went on, he was saying that people were, they called people that weren't part of the religion, that you were allowed to abuse them and utilize them to any way you'd like. And if you weren't part of them, you were called a kafar, which means a pig, garbage, whatever. I don't know I don't know about Islam and the religion of it, and I'm not looking to be derogatory towards it, but this is what the man was saying. And I remember deep diving in at the time and going, I couldn't believe how much of it was factually based that he said. I said, now, again, I'm limited. This was, before LMMs and everything else. And I'm sure you know much more about them than I do.
Well, no, this is something that I really like talking about, because I don't have a subscription to any of those things, as you probably know, right? I told Abraham he can take a hike. I just don't really care. But I do. I find value in all those things. And so, like what you're saying, and people have made the same arguments and statements they do quite frequently in America today. It's true. Like, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but kafir is a word that refers to people who are non-believers.
Yes.
Kind of the same way that goyim refers to people that are non-Jewish.
Yes.
And you can use it in a variety of ways. Like if you read the Epstein papers, for example, or the email exchanges, contrary to what most people think, and from someone like me, you might not think that I would say something like this, almost in the defense of the people that use that term goyim. But if you read those emails, most of the time the term goyim is being used in a kind of a positive way. It's not being used in a derogatory way. And in the ways that it's being used, they're using it to refer to people that are non-Jewish. It might be implied that it's derogatory, like they're less than us, but they're saying like, hey, these goyim know how to have a lot of fun. They know how to party. They know how to really, take care of each other. Like, I don't necessarily think that's discriminatory. And in the same way, you can use it, and you can use it in a discriminatory way and refer to people that are non-Jewish as cattle. And it's the same thing with kafir. Like, it just means non-believer. So like if I convert to Islam, not that I have or would ever, I'm going to say if I converted to Islam and I talked to John Pizzi, and John Pizzi was not a Muslim, I didn't hate John, but I just wanted to say, like, John's not a believer in what I believe, so John is by definition a kafir. I don't mean it in a derogatory sense. You could, of course, use it in that sense, and you can teach people to use it in that sense. And rabbis have clearly used the term goyim to demean non-Jews, and many of the Muslim leaders have clearly used the term kafir to demean non-Muslims. And the same thing goes in Christianity. I don't know if the Christians really have a term for it, and they call them heathens or pagans or something, but that's not.
I don't know if the Christians do. The Christians, yeah. Is there something for the Christians? That's a good point. I don't know.
Heathen? I think heathen.
Heathen would be it?
I've been called heathen a lot, or pagan, but
pagan.
But like even pagan doesn't. None of the see. The thing is, when you look at these words, none of them really make any sense. So like if
I thought it would be non-financial donor. Yeah, because you don't put money. No, that's really interesting that you just said what you just said, because by the way, it's very in the middle. By the way, it's not taking a side. It's really kind of politically correct as well. But what you're saying is that it's context is what you're saying. It's context of how a guy comes out, writes a book, and says, here's the word, and then you take that word and say it's good or bad. You're not actually judging it. You're saying it could be judged either way. Correct?
Yeah, it can be judged either way. It can be used either way, kind of like with a gun. It can be used to defend or offend, or a hammer.
And from all the research you've done over the years, and you've dived into, do you believe the kafir or the heathen or the in the Jewish tradition, those words negative or positive in your mind?
I think it's all dependent upon context. I think originally, I don't really. So this is my opinion, is that I don't think there's really a true understanding by anybody alive today about the root origin of those words. Like, even if you study it etymologically, we really don't have, or read texts that reference those words, we really don't have any idea how people interpreted words 500 years ago, or even 100 years ago for that matter. Like a word that we use today, I don't even have an example, but a word that we use today might be considered, highly. I'll give me an example.
Sure.
The word orient, right? Or oriental. Okay. We've been told as Americans, or at least that's the impression I get from the media, like, don't use the word oriental. It's extremely offensive. It's extremely racist.
I've never heard that.
See, okay, there's another example on top of the example I'm giving. You've never heard that. I've heard that my whole life. Don't use oriental. Don't even call an oriental rug an oriental rug. It's the first time I heard that, I thought, but that's what it is. It's it's from the Orient, so it's an oriental rug. What should I call it?
Yes, made in the Orient. Yes.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's at least maybe living in New York, in liberal New York, in Rochester, Orient was considered a bad word to the white people that live there.
Okay. But amongst the fish fries on Friday night, go ahead.
Maybe
and buffalo wings. Oh, you're not allowed to say buffalo wings. Okay.
Yeah, can you say buffalo wings? Are you not allowed to say
I
that?
assume you can't. It's just to interject something here. I'm always interrupting. I'm sorry for that. I can't help it. My mind flies into 100 directions. My brother-in-law works in Florida as a real estate guy, and he quit his job at this big real estate company because they told him when he was selling the houses he couldn't use master bedroom.
Oh, I've heard that before. Yeah.
He said, enough of this bullshit. He left. He says, this company's telling me I can't say master bedroom. I can't say, there was something else in real estate. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Masturbate's okay, but not master bedroom.
Yeah.
I did real estate in Florida. I was at the real estate school with with Nick. Some of you might remember Nick, who's been on the show before.
It was before the political correctness, though.
Yeah, it was around the time it started to kick off, but it was, I guess, technically before that got really intense. But yeah, I've heard that too. Master bedroom, can't say that. But apparently the Orient is not an offensive word. Like my wife's not in any way offended by it. She actually likes the term. So it's like being told by weird white liberal people that don't say that, but then you come to the Orient and they're like, yeah, that's not an offensive word. It's confusing. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway,
how do you think we've got here though, Ryan? Like with everything that's gone on, is this a push? Is it a control? I'm just in my humble, and I'm humbled here. I'm humbled to be talking to you as well. I love your stuff, but humbly, I just think there's a destruction of America being like an apple, like worms eating it from the inside out, trying to take it all down, take away whatever was built on people's blood in order to create a track and trace and controlled environment where and the rights and everything taken away and into a one universal basis of control. I think they want to destroy what's this little beacon that we are. See, only because we're different than the rest of the world. I mean, I'm not familiar with Japan. It sounds like I love it. But how do you think we got here? Do you think that's the reason this is happening, or do you believe that there's a agenda, or there's just happenstance? This is all falling this way.
I think it's a mixture of all those things. The last handful of years, like the last 5 years for me, a lot of it, in my assessment, has resulted in, or is a result of, rather, I should say, is a result of a lack of a lot of things, a lack of morality, a lack of decency, a lack of culture, most importantly. Sometimes you hear conservative, libertarian type people make that argument, and I think it's probably one of the best political arguments that's made in our country, is that it's a cultural issue. It doesn't matter Republican or Democrat. I think most people understand that on the surface. But it also doesn't matter if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're atheist. That doesn't matter either. It doesn't matter if you say things that make sense or don't say things that make sense. What matters is, the culture. Like if you, I'll give you an example. Over here, when I first visited, I went to where all the tourists go. I went to Shibuya, where the famous crosswalk is. And I'm walking around, and this is in the tourist area. So if there's any kind of theft and crime, it typically is, and filthiness, it typically is in those areas because there's too many people. And I saw this on the side of the road. I saw this, like, I went to film school too. So like I recognized, it was like a camera bag, and I recognized the equipment in it. And I was like, this stuff is really expensive. It's like tens of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just sitting there. And I just kind of looked around like, where's someone just left this here? And I noticed that they were like a block or so away. They had another camera. They were filming somebody. I was like, oh, that's probably their equipment. But they just left it there, and nobody stole it. Nobody took it. And even with all the tourists and people there, nobody took it. And I looked at that, and I just thought, you could, this was the time, of course, when, there's a lot of discussions. Was this 2-3 years ago? I think Joe Biden's the president, but people are like, we just need Trump back. Trump will fix things, etc. But the thing is, if Trump's the president, it doesn't matter who the president is. People don't steal that camera in Japan for several reasons. Number one, you don't steal it because if you do, you will go to jail probably. You will be arrested. They don't just let you off the hook because of the color of your skin or some other political nonsense. That's the first thing. So people know that.
Common sense.
Common sense, yeah. And the second thing is, I mean, I don't know enough about Japan's legal system to really, or political system probably to say, but I get the feeling that culturally, it's just something you don't do. And so it doesn't matter politically, religiously, none of this matters. What matters is the culture. And if you don't, like we said earlier, if you don't have a culture of trust and respect, which America used to have, that's kind of my issue. Like America used to be trustworthy and respectful. People at least used to be. And we still have a lot of people that are. But like generally speaking, our culture is not like that anymore. And so I think that that's at the root source of these issues, which is why I'm so critical of religion, because although, sure, you know, most of the time I would probably rather spend time around a Christian than I would someone who's extremely antagonistic and atheistic. Not saying atheists are bad people, but I tend to get along better with Christians and atheists because they tend to have a moral compass. However, you don't need Christianity to have a functioning society. And I knew that before, but when I moved overseas or spent any time in Buddhist countries, I realized, now hold on a second. There's no 10 Commandments. They don't know who Moses is. There's no Jewish or Judeo or Christian angle here. I mean, there's like a tiny percent of the population, but it's negligible. And I just think to myself, and I've asked my audience many times, like, how is it possible to have a clean, functioning, civil, moral, decent, respectful society with virtually no crime without Christianity or without the 10 Commandments or without Judaism, without these systems that claim to be like the arbiters of morality? And I mean, I think the answer is obvious, but and we don't have to, you know, provide an answer. It's just, I think it's obvious. But I think that, you know, it's not the answer, but it's an answer. Christianity is not the answer, but it's an answer. It could be an answer. Atheism, there are plenty of people in Japan that are considered atheists. In fact, pretty much the whole society is considered atheistic, even though they have Shinto and Buddhism. And yet people that, from a Western perspective, are considered atheistic and, you know, immoral, tend to be more moral and more respectful than people that claim to be moral Christians. So like,
but it must be their upbringing too. I mean, the parents, raising children. Yeah, it has to be.
Right. It's the culture, and that's what matters. And that's why it doesn't really, it's as much not about religion or politics as much as it is about those kinds of things. And of course,
that culture comes up from what? It comes up, good parenting and culture comes from past behaviors being generations down, further down. I mean, as a society, I go on a plane the other day to go to California. Everyone's dressed like children. They're wearing flip-flops and loose, open, sweaty, big, huge sweatpants, and girls with their tits out with the things on, and it's like, but like grown 4-year-olds. Everyone's like a, you know, the big headset. Everybody's like 8 years old. It's like, what's going on? The world has been, we're just big and fluffy and fat and overweight and worn and full of toxins and want to be as comfortable as possible and tell other people what we want to do. It's just degraded to the point where it's like, I look at old films of people wearing suits and ties and women in dresses, guys in hats, and people, you know, being cultured. Like, even if it's not true, it felt better. It felt better to look at. It's
well, no, that I think you just hit the nail on the head. That's the key, because obviously over here there's corruption, there is crime, etc. But number one, they tend to deal with it better, and because the society's structured around order. But it looks and it feels better. So like obviously Japan has, I think, the biggest porn industry in the world. I think it's like the biggest, or at least the most something. It's one of the biggest in the world. Or
what channel should I look at? Tell me. I'm
got some websites I'll send you after the show. But I think, but you don't see it as the point. Like if you go outside and you go anywhere, the small place I live, or if you go to Tokyo, you rarely, if ever, see a woman's skin above her ankles, and I mean, in the summertime, you'll see people with shorts, but it's more respectful. It's more modest. Even though
what about drugs and people living in streets and that kind of stuff?
See, that's another thing, and according to my wife, that's just not a thing at all over here unless you go to the rich areas. And there's well, the funny thing is, this is how like if you talk about racism in the West, it's so funny. Like I asked her, I said, "What's the drug situation here?" And she like none of her friends do drugs. Most of them don't even drink. Like drugs, people drink here, but drugs are just not a thing. People really don't do drugs. So I asked her, I said, "Where do you find the drugs?" It's not a joke, but it sounds like a joke. She said it's a place called Roppongi, which is a really rich area of Tokyo.
It's in a rich area. What kind of drugs?
Well, that's the question. It's like, okay, what kind of drugs? She's like cocaine and marijuana. And I said, where do you get the cocaine and marijuana from? And she just says, the blacks, because that's who does most of the drug dealing in Roppongi. People smuggle those into the country and they do the dealing. I'm sure there's a lot of local stuff too. I'm sure plenty of Japanese people deal drugs, but it tends to be black folks selling drugs in Roppongi, or at least that's the image that most Japanese people have. So they don't do a lot of drugs, but you can find them, but it's isolated to the wealthier areas because it's usually higher in, like cocaine's expensive. It's like a Wall Street drug, right? It's not something that common people necessarily are doing. At least that's the impression I have of it. So anyway, that tends to be isolated to those areas from what I understand. It's not a widespread thing. And it's just, you're right about our culture has just deteriorated to the point. I mean, people are drinking less in America. It might be because they can't afford it. People are drinking less, but you have an increase of both legal and illegal substances in the United States. There's an increase of just total degeneracy, I think, everywhere we look, from entertainment to even politics. And you've got people filming sex videos in congressional. I don't know if you saw that in one of the congressional offices. You got some Democrat woman running for Congress who's like twerking on video. It's just like, it's a total disgrace. It's just totally embarrassing. And the thing is, kind of going back to like what we said about comedy, there's people that are offended, and it's, most of the time the audience gets it. There's always someone that might be offended. Like with this show, when I point out these things, John, there's some Americans get really offended. And I think it's because they know it's true and just don't want to acknowledge it. And I have to tell them, like, we're on the same page here. We both love America. I think you're offended perhaps by the fact that there are other people that do it better. Like, quite frankly, I think Japan is more American than America is. Like, it feels like you have more freedom here. Maybe Japanese people don't think that, but from the outside looking in, it feels like you have more freedom here than you do in America. It feels like American freedom is kind of like surface level. About as surface level as when you come to Japan and you do like a tea ceremony. You get the experience, but it's not really a real one from the old world. They don't really do that anymore, but you get the tourist experience. I think that's kind of how freedom is in America. It's like a tourist experience. You're told you have free speech. You're told you can do all these things, but you really can't without really severe consequences, right? So
yes,
that's kind of the way that
that's a great point, by the way, because what you just said is really encapsulates America. You're right. We have free speech, but there is consequences to it.
Serious ones. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I know it. I mean, I've gotten canceled. People have got a lot of comments gotten canceled.
Have you been canceled? I wanted to ask you that.
My subscription to HBO because I didn't pay the bill. That's a really good point, though, that you're making. I have to later on ponder more about that. Because I spend hours in the car driving to gigs, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6, and then driving back. And these are the things I think about all the time. If it's not about aliens or listening to your show or listening to something that's totally off the beaten track of life.
I've got another example for you that I think is a pretty good example. I don't know how it is where you live, but when I lived in Tucson, there was always talk about garbage and trash and how there's just they can't figure out how to clean up the trash, which is just a ridiculous thing to say. We don't know how to clean up the trash. They got to put together a multi-million-dollar panel. Like, how do we put the trash in the cans? It's just so stupid. But
well, at least one white trash went to Japan. So.
That's right. I like that white trash because I think I used to be white trash. It's like
we were in Florida.
Was that? Oh yeah. Well, exactly. I lived in a trailer.
Yahoos in Florida.
You live in a trailer in Polk County in Florida. It doesn't matter how clean and nice you're white trash. It's kind of like that. Was it Miss Doubtfire?
Nothing against trailer. That's against trailer parks. Trailer parks are pretty cool. Usually the people there are pretty fun. They have good senses of humor. Trailer parks, generally speaking.
Yes.
I usually hand out toothbrushes so they could do one tooth at a time. They usually floss. They usually floss with a rope.
A friend of mine's in the chat tonight. My friend Goey here. His name's Joey. He said Polk County. We used to joke too because there's a place outside of where he lives in West Virginia. They just it's old school. A lot of people don't have teeth. I feel like some parts there they don't even have might not even have electricity. I don't know, but they we call it a toothbrush and we brush our teeth. We said in those places they called a teeth brush because they brush their tooth.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of. I told you, Joey, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's that line that Robin Williams had. I think it was Mrs. Doubtfire, where he said, "Oh, I love boys because I used to be one, and that's why I love white trash because I used to be white trash."
You really feel you were white trash?
I feel like a little bit white trash,
And what does white trash entail to you in your mind? What makes you part of the culture? Tell me, please.
I don't know. In the old days, I feel like. I mean, I lived in a trailer. I feel like that's just an automatic.
It gives you one hook.
I had a girlfriend at the time, a redheaded girlfriend, who was very
white-skinned, milky-skinned,
very milky skin, freckled, very whitish trash. For no other reason, she was white trash.
Did you wear the husband beater T-shirt?
No, I did. No, I just beat her. I didn't wear the T-shirt.
Did you have the tattoos?
No tattoos. No.
You have all your teeth.
I had a chip.
You had the beginnings of white trash, trying to get in, but you couldn't make the whole call.
I moved to Japan. Yes.
Yeah. I asked a guy years ago, and I paid him, and then he sent me the money back. I'm glad I didn't do it. I'm really glad. To make me a white trash girl puppet that was pregnant. And I wanted the baby to be black and happen on stage in the middle of the show.
Oh, that's great.
No, it's not. No, it's really not. No, after I had the politics problems, no, it's definitely not. But I wanted to be smoking a cigarette, say she was pregnant, and then have the pains, and then she'd have the baby, and it would be splash, and I'd take it out and have the baby sit in her lap and be black and have this 3-person conversation. I thought that would be the most punch in the face, funny, off-cuff, craziest kind of things that would go viral. And now I realize all it would do is hurt me and have people burning crosses on my lawn.
Yeah, you'd be hunted down for that.
Huh?
You'd be hunted down for that nowadays.
That's what I'm saying. It was just a smart night. Somebody says paper towels white trash. You call paper towels white trash. That's very fun. That's good. That's really good. There's a joke like that. What was the joke? The joke was girl says, "I'm wet." And he goes, "Do you want the girl says to the husband, "I'm wet." He goes, "Do you want a tissue?" She goes, "No, I'm really wet." He goes, "You want 2 tissues?" She goes, "No, I'm super wet." He goes, "You mean you want the whole roll?" It's so freaking stupid. That's
wow.
You want the whole roll.
One other thing I wanted to mention to you real quick was when we were talking about religion, the word heathen. I think they've redefined the word heathen, but this is just another example I wanted to give you. And I think it applies to many things. Like from when I was growing up,
you need some bounty. That's funny. Okay.
It's one of the shots you need bounty.
Yeah, somebody says sounds like you need some bounty. All right, it's pun. It's a good pun. It's there.
Well, someone in the chat said trailer trash. Maybe trailer trash was a better way. I mean, if you're white, I guess it's implied, but
I think if you're in a trailer, you're down on your luck. It's not that you're trailer trash. It's just that you don't have the finances to do whatever you do. And that's the other problem in America. I'm going to another topic, but in America, they don't teach you about finances. They don't teach you how to save money. They don't teach you how to run a checkbook. They don't teach you how to run a business. They teach you about the War of 1812. Who the fuck needs the War of 1812? I don't care about 1812. I need to learn how to navigate through this maze I'm in now. This 3D. What do I do here now? I don't care about that. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you and threw you to another direction again. By the way, I will tell you, this is the funnest Friday night I've had. It's been fun.
Me too, John. I really enjoy. I think
It's like I feel like we're kindred spirits and we never get to talk. We need to talk.
We should talk more. We should talk more.
Yeah.
You should come back on the show. I can come and do one of your things sometime.
I would love to.
So a couple of things really quick. So on the trains over here, it's really common. They have these little video monitors up, and they'll show you how to do things. So they'll have like cooking shows, show you how to make something really simple, or they'll have like
on the train.
Yeah, or English shows to show you how to speak English better, like English. It's like an anime English example.
Really?
So it's constantly learning. So, like, I'll give you an example. When I was in the U.S., it's kind of funny in retrospect, but it's also kind of annoying. Like, I would read and walk. People look at their phones and walk. I would read and walk.
And then you walk into a pond. Yeah, right.
So I have to have something in front of me to kind of like focus my mind. Or walking otherwise can get boring to me. So I read and walk. And I used to have people drive by when I lived in Boise, and they used to like, "Hey, when's the book report due?" Which is, in retrospect, it's kind of funny. When's the book report due? It's like some high school thing or something. So I, people always would look at me weird for reading. Even when I was in public sitting down, like people would look at you really weird. Like, why? Someone actually asked me one time, they said, "Why are you reading?" I said, so I don't become a dumb fuck who asks somebody why they're reading. That's why I'm reading,
Right.
But over here, everybody's got their phone in their face, but if you go on a train, I'd say a significant portion of people are reading physical books. They're studying English. So a lot of them are school kids that are studying for school. A lot of adults.
Education is prioritized. Education is like a norm, is what you're saying.
It's
right.
It's normal, and in many ways, it's actually expected. You got a phone call?
Yeah, but I told him I was doing a show. My friend, he's my computer guru, Ted. He's brilliant.
I thought it was your rabbi calling.
I don't have a rabbi.
Cancel the next show.
It's Friday night. It's Shabbat. They're all in the dark until tomorrow night. And Monday is Sunday. It's so true. Let me ask you this. Tell me about your parents.
That's something I don't really want to talk about ever.
Why is that?
And I just don't like talking
about it. Who comes out here and lays it all out, and we'll talk about everything and anything. But the parents is something that's
a lot of childhood stuff. Yeah, I don't like talking about just
trauma,
because it's trauma mixed with. It's like how do I describe this? It's kind of like that George Costanza thing where he talked about the two worlds coming together. Like, you don't want to merge the world of the girlfriend and the other friends and family. It's like one of those things, because once they collide, they'll just explode. And
I get it. Can I tell you something?
Yeah, of course.
I'm your real father. I have to apologize. That's a joke. Nobody knows who your father is, and that's what we're here to talk about. So I understand that. When my daughter was very young and a baby, I never went on Facebook and social media. I never mentioned I even had a kid. Never did anything. And the reason why is that it was no reason to bring up my personal life in public, so it could be used against us in any way in the future. It's not a smart thing.
Yeah, you're right. That's usually
Ryan Pizzi. Thank you, Ryan Pizzi. And I'm John Gable. Thank you very much.
It's funny that that whole all those accusations against me. There's like, you're a Nazi, you're this and that. It's like, no, seriously, I'm a constitutionalist, I'm not a national socialist. But correct me if I'm wrong, Joey. Joey he does a lot of like genealogy stuff for fun. He traced my name, and I think my name actually is derived from, or it's from the same root as Goebbels, as Joseph Goebbels. It's like an old German root, the Nazi propaganda minister. Correct me if I'm wrong about that, Joey, but I think that's what you had told me. Anyway, real quick. The word heathen, like heathen used to be defined. This is getting to me because I wanted to tell you this. I think it used to be defined as like someone who doesn't have a religion, or doesn't have, like, they don't believe in God, which never made sense to me, because people that they call pagans, like pagans, like pagan means, it's from paganus, it means the religion of the country people, and the country people always had multiple gods. So to call someone a heathen, meaning they don't have a god, is weird, because they actually have multiple gods. It's words. This applies to everything. It's words like that where they have one meaning, like by definition, dictionary, and then they have like a social definition, like with the acronym Nazi. you're a Nazi. It's like, no, I'm not a National Socialist. Well, I didn't say you were a socialist. I said you were a Nazi. I was like, what? It means the same thing. No, it doesn't. One of them means you're a white supremacist. Like, no, I don't think that's what it means either. There's this weird that we have these dictionary definitions, we have social definitions, we have these like insulting definitions.
Right. Yeah, heretic. That's even better. Right.
Well, like a heretic. That's another good one. The Christian.
I don't get cold names. I just get direct names, like you're an asshole, that kind of stuff. I don't get those sort of names. There's a great joke like that too, where a guy says, "My wife, what an asshole, and nice tits too." You see, perspective.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful joke, by the way. So, where were you born?
Florida, the good old state of Florida. I'm a Florida man.
That explains the beater T-shirt and the trailer. Okay, I got it. Okay,
it's under the jacket.
Yeah, and no dental plan. I get it. Okay, we're good. We're good to go. So you were raised in Florida. You went to college in Florida?
I did and didn't. I technically didn't go to college. I tried a community college a little bit, and I got out of that. I went to film school, technical school.
I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Found radio unrelated to film school, just totally unrelated.
Do you think that life found you, or you found it? Like when it comes to what you're doing now,
I found it.
And do you believe that if it was taken, it's your identity at this point. If it was taken away from you, what would you do?
I honestly don't know. I feel like I'm 35, but I'm starting to understand that the idea of someone on their deathbed, or someone who's really old who just says like, yeah, I'm done. I want to die. And I don't want to die. Let's get that. I don't want to die. I'm not like looking to die. I'm just saying I get the idea of people that are, they're kind of done with life because they've done everything, and maybe their spouse died and they're just like, oh, okay, I'm done. I've seen it. I've done it. I'm satisfied. I'm in that position now where I guess if it was all taken away, or let's say I lost my voice, I couldn't speak.
Right.
I'd be accepting of it because like I've kind of done it. Like I'm good.
It's easy to say that, but when you're on a deathbed, or you're in a position where it's your livelihood, not even your livelihood, your identity, which is really what it is. The livelihood is the identity. When it's taken away, look, there's a great thing. I remember Wayne Dyer said this years ago. I remember Wayne Dyer was from Florida. Do you know him? He was a great speaker. Dyer? Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer.
I don't think I know him.
Oh, he was one of my favorite speakers. That was back in the days of Deepak Chopra and 90s. And Dr. Wayne Dyer was brilliant. He wrote the book called, speaking of which, you want to know my favorite book of all time? The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran.
The Prophet. That sounds really familiar. I think I've seen that before. I'm gonna look.
If you don't have it, I will send you one. That's a gift. That's my gift to people. I think it's the greatest book ever. It's called The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran. And that book, I think Kahlil Gibran was Muslim, I believe. I may be wrong, but I think he was Muslim. But let me just going back a moment. The Wayne Dyer had said something that really stuck in my head. Oh my God, that picture is gruesome.
Sorry, I was showing people your website again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that it's gruesome. I'm talking about the puppet, not me. So he had said, if you are what you do, when you don't, you're not. I love that saying. If you are what you do, when you don't, you're not. Which goes to show that you're nothing if you're not doing what your identity is. Which means the identity is really a temporary thing in life. It's not really who you are. I'm saying to you, as if your identity was taken away from you, you're saying, I think I would be able to, you feel like you've done it all. And I'm thinking that if you actually had it taken away from you, you'd actually maybe not feel that way, because when it comes, you turn around and think to yourself, wow, everything that I thought I wanted, you really want to just get back on the horse. I know I had an operation and I was supposed to stay home 6 weeks and not work at all, lift anything over 10 pounds, right? When I had an operation. And I was 9 days later, I was doing a wedding and it hurt, but I went and did it. And I kept going and I kept going. And I think that's what makes humans human, is the drive to get back on the horse and be what you believe you are. Once it's taken away from you, you just want to be back on the horse. I think if I pulled you out of this for a few months, you'd be like, want to get back on the horse.
I get that, and that's for sure, because I missed a show last Friday, which is rare. I missed a show. I took the night off, and it was fine to do it, but I just felt like I was missing something. Yeah, there was. And I know Clyde's like that too. He's been off for several months now, and he's dying.
Kill him. It's got to hurt.
It's what you do. Now I thought
you don't care about everything else. You care about that.
You care about that, yeah.
I mean, I go do these shows. I work almost every day doing shows, almost every day, and every day when I go do the show, all I care about is the new bit. I don't care about the whole hour and 20. I care about the next 3 minutes. That's all my focus. Everything else is working. I don't give a shit. That's on the side. This 3 minutes. I can't wait to do that 3 minutes and then grow that 3 minutes, or take it out, or put it in, or change it, or maneuver it, or start fresh and bring another 3 minutes in. It's the new stuff. It's the creativity. It's the growth. It's nothing to do with the actual end result. It's the ride. And
that's exactly what radio is like for me too. Yeah. And I
would imagine
when I'm preparing shows, a lot of the time, this is why I'm so exhausted. It's not because of the show per se, or because of the pre-work. It's just because I burn my this is my issue in life. I burn myself out because I'm constantly doing material in my head, preparing it in my head.
In and out.
Yeah. It's the same.
And that's what I was saying earlier when I experienced when I was doing all those shows online. I was only doing like 1 or 2 a week, and it was driving me. It's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I don't know how you do it, honestly. And you do it every day. And also, it's almost like you have a truncated memory, because you can't remember everything you did and spoke about. You can't remember every person that you spoke to about things. And you can't remember all the stuff. And you want to make notes about the things you want to recall. And then as time goes on, it becomes this blurry mess of stuff. And you keep putting new stuff in and new stuff coming out. It's almost like filtering water. And you always only have a fresh tank, not the old stuff,
It's kind of like when, if you have like a posture issue, like a bodily posture issue, and you see someone who's elderly and they had a posture issue their whole life, and so they're really bent over, or they're limping in one direction because they never fixed it. It's kind of like that with radio. Like, I've just done it for so long that if I, good or bad, if I try to change the way that I do things, I'm going to be limping. I'm going to be hunched over, because it's just like a natural reaction to like what's going on in the world. This is what I do. It's hard to change it or deviate from it.
What would you do if you were a month off? What would you do? What would you spend your time doing? And then the other issue would be have you ever done that? Have you ever taken a month and just chilled out and did something else?
No, I feel like I'm missing something. Part of it's also because my, income is not guaranteed. It's just all
either is mine,
right? So you just have to keep doing it.
I'm a gig worker. 1 week I make great money. Next week I make nothing. It's just like,
up
and down. And people say to you, "Are you available? Do you work for that?" Yes. It's like there's no rhyme. Ryan, we don't say it here on the air, but I can tell you there are gigs that I do where the money is so great, and you feel like you're the greatest thing in the world. And then there's gigs that I do that are so low and end and bullshit and garbagey, and you still deliver and do the best job you can, because you're always representing yourself in the end anyway. It's just showbiz. Yeah. It's just the way it goes. There's another great joke about that, about a guy shoveling shit from an elephant. You ever hear that? That's a classic.
I think you told me this one
He's
time.
In a circus, and he's shoveling the shit and throwing it out. And the guy comes over and goes, "What are you doing?" He's like a little midget guy, and he's shoveling the shit. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Well, he goes, "Why don't you want to, you could get a job at this place, make a lot more money." He goes, "And leave showbiz?" It's nice to see you laugh too, and because you're always straight, so it's nice to see you on a show just laughing, having a good time, making a little more lighter.
I love comedy. There's so many things you've said tonight. There's things that are going through my head, like I can find a joke in it, even if you're not joking. Like I thought you were going to say when you had the surgery, you couldn't lift anything over 10 pounds, so you couldn't take your dick out. I thought you were
it's a lighter of a story than that. Speaking of dick jokes,
we got about 2.5, 3 minutes here, so we got to wrap it up.
I have 2.5, 3 inches, just perfect.
1 second per inch, or 1 minute per inch.
I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you this. I took that out to show you this real quick. I'll show you my dummy. I was going to show you this mentalism trick, but we don't have enough time. Mentalism is big. Have you heard about Oz Perlman? That's been so huge lately.
Yeah, I heard all about that.
So I brought this guy out here. Hey, hello, friend. Where are we? That's my friend. Who? Ryan. Ryan? Yeah, look over there.
Hey, you're on live radio.
Hello, Ryan. Nice to meet you. Yes. Ryan does a wonderful radio show. Oh, yes. And I understand you can predict the future. Oh, yes. How do you do it? I got contacts. No, I mean, how do you predict the future? What do you mean? Tell Ryan, predict his future. Ryan, look in my eyes. I will tell you your future. Go ahead. What do you see? I see no one will be listening to your show. All right. I don't think that's true. Oh, yes. I know all things. Okay. Can you tell him something else? Yes. That DD is not yours. Okay. That's not very nice. That's true. Okay. Tell Ryan something that'll make him feel good. A new Japanese woman. All right. That's not very nice either. Yes. Say something to Ryan from inside. Okay. Very nice. What's that? Lunch. Okay. Congratulations, my friend. Okay. Okay. Get in there, Swami. All right.
His name's Swami.
Yeah, I've been working. I did him a long time ago, and I just took him back out. I'm trying to put him back into the show because he's. I just like the idea of reading people's futures that are all silly and full of shit. It's just kind of funny.
So what I would really like to do is I would love to have you back on really soon, and we can
anytime. If I'm open, I'd be love. I never get a Friday night off, and it's been like this is more fun than going out and driving 3 hours to do a gig any day. It was fun, and it's good to see you. I haven't spoken to you so long. I've been wanting. I'm glad that we hooked up here. I just been busy. You've been busy. You moving. Having children in other countries. Next time I see you, you'll be in Cambodia with a little Cambodian kid. Who knows what you'll be doing next?
Let's set up another show and we'll do some puppet work.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. All right.
I could even interview one of them. That'd be fun.
That'd be great. Perfecto. Thanks for having me, Brian. It was great seeing you.
Yeah, you too, John. And let's really quick let people know where they can find you. Website.
Don't look for me. Look for you. You're the one in another country. I'm easly accessible. You're the person that you're the one in hiding. You're in the witness protection program of Japan. I got nothing going on. Yeah.
They tell you I'm in Japan. I'm actually in the mountains of Colorado.
Yeah, that's right. You're lying. Yeah, because you don't want your parents to find out.
JohnPizzi.com. Not John Pizza.
No, not pizza. PZ.
PZ. What background do you have? What's your ethnicity? Can I ask?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. I'm like you. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Actually, I have a bunch of things. It was Italian and Irish and Dutch and German, and there's a bunch. I have a whole bunch of stuff in me, back me. I'm a mutt, total mutt.
I feel like,
and I have the strength of 10 men. and I'm hung like a tic tac. I'm happy to tell you.
Is it a UFO? Hung like a UFO.
Like you. That's what I want to talk to you about next time. UFOs.
Let's do UFOs, and we'll do some puppet stuff because there's more UFO files that came out today, and I'm going to do a show on that next week. But anyway, John Pizzi,
I'll be listening. Thank you, Ryan. Take those ones off your head and have a great Saturday afternoon.
You have a good Friday night. Enjoy yourself.
Ciao, brother.
Bye-bye. All right, there goes John, closing the door. He's on his way out. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, I am Ryan Gable. This is The Secret Teachings. Please, if you're watching the video, know that we have an audio version of this show. That's where the main archive is. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. 5 nights a week. TSTradio.info is the website. That's TSTradio.info. Find my books, the full show archive, and everything else about the show you might want or need to know. Links are below, however you're listening. Buy us a coffee, utilize Cash App if you'd like to donate to the show, or just subscribe to the show. You get access to all the ad-free episodes. Thank you for joining us. We'll have John back on the show at some point. We've got UFO shows planned for next week and more. I'll talk to you in the next broadcast. Also ask you to leave us a review on Apple. And if you have a moment, you want to write me an email, let us know what you think of the show. You have a comment for John, rdgable, that's rdgable @yahoo.com. All right, I will talk to you on the next broadcast. Have a great night.